Secretary Yusek Sebastian.
Opo.
And do you know what Yusek Sebastian did sa importation plan?
Yes po.
Yusek Sebastian, ano ginawa mo na binigay sa iyo?
The plan, Mr. Chair, was first sent to me by email, and then he followed it up also in my office. Then I drafted a memo for the President, which I sent to the Office of the Executive Secretary. And I also copied the personal email of the Executive Secretary. I was also informed, Mr. Chair, that Administrator Sarapica also sent the same email that he shared with me the plan directly to the Office of the Executive Secretary.
And insofar as that importation plan is concerned, what answer did you receive, if any?
We waited for an answer, but we did not get any answer, Mr. Chair.
And that importation plan was submitted when?
August 5,
August 5.
2022, Mr. Chair.
At nang wala kayong marinig na sagot mula sa Malacanang, ginawa nyo na ang sugar order number 4.
We have a referendum, Mr. Chair, on August 8, 2022.
Madam Chair, with the indulgence of the Honorable Brass, just one clarification, is an import plan the same as an import program? Kasi plano lang yan, magkaiba yan sa programa eh. Yung SO4, nakasulat program. Yung pinasubmit, plano lang.
Would you like to answer that, Mr. Serafica or Mr. Sebastian? Because since you were saying that you were asked to submit an import plan to the Office of the President, is it the same?
Maybe Administrator.
For us, it's the same, Your Honor. Importation plan and an importation program.
Okay. Congressman Berzaga?
When there was no reply coming from the Office of the President or from the Office of the Secretary on August 10, on August 9, ginawa nyo na ang sugar order number 4. And according to Yusek Sebastian, there was a referendum. And who participated in the referendum?
I participated in the referendum, and so with former board member Beltran, and so with former board member Valderrama, Your Honor.
Okay. And that referendum was made how?
Through email.
Through email. And do you have a copy of the email?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can furnish this committee?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what was the reply? The two.
I initiated the referendum and I voted in the affirmative.
No, yung dalawa.
Yung
Si Attorney Beltran at saka si what's the name of the Valderrama.
Attorney Beltran followed suit in the affirmative as well. And also former board member Valderrama, he voted last.
Okay. Bago bumoto si Attorney Beltran, tinanong ba sa inyo ang importance at kung bakit gumawa ka ng sugar order number 4 o basta nag-yes na lang siya?
Alam niya po ang sitwasyon ng supply
And
and demand.
how did he, bakit niya nalaman ng sitwasyon?
Dahil alam niya po, nakatanggap siya po ng notice ng referendum from the Office of
O nga, pero
Board Secretary.
ano pinagbasihan niya sa kanya pagpayag?
Mayroong endorsement po galing mayroong endorsement ng importation program sa Sugar Board. Yun ang pinasa po. Lahat-lahat na datos na kailangan niyang
Okay,
malaman.
balik
nandun
muna
po.
tayo, Sugar Board. Sino ang mga miyembro ng Sugar Board?
Yung dalawang board members,
And who are they?
Attorney Beltran
So Attorney Beltran knows that already.
and Valderrama as well.
Okay. Next question. This is very important. I have read newspaper accounts nang sabi ni Atty. Beltran, as of July 1st, he considers himself automatically terminated because of Memorandum Order number 1. Tama ba yun o hindi?
Yan ang sabi niya po.
Oh, what is your opinion? Pinasabihan ka ba ni Atty. Beltran as of July 1st na hindi na siya magre-report sapagkat ang tingin niya tapos na ang kanyang trabaho by virtue of Memorandum Order number 1?
Yung Sugar Board staff, pinadalhan po namin siya ng kopya ng MC3.
Sinabihan ka ba ni Atty. Beltran July 1 or a little bit after July 1 na siya ay hindi na membro ng Sugar Regulatory Board or SRA sapagkat meron ng Memo Order number 1?
Hindi po ako niya sinabihan.
Hindi ka sinabihan.
Hindi po.
Not even up to the issuance of the not even to the issuance of the Sugar Order number 4. Hindi ka rin niya sinabihan about Memorandum Order number 1 nang consider niya, ang posisyon niya, resign na siya.
Your Honors, for the information of everybody, yung Memorandum number 1 or Circular number 1, ay ito po yung nagsasabi na yung mga ASEC or lahat po ng appointees ng dating Pangulo ay automatic po ay July 1 ay sila po ay tapos na po sa engagement. Yun po ang ibig sabihin ng ating, terminus po ang tawag doon. So, doon pa lang po makikita na natin bakit pa siya pumirma. Pero na lang, kung may ipapakita kayo sa amin na siya po ay nire-renew. Malaman ko lang po, dagdagan ko lang po sa ating kasama PD Berzaga. Ilan po ang composition ng board?
3 po, pang-4 po ang ex-officio, yung secretary po ng agriculture po.
Okay. Pagka kayo nagbo-board hearing, board meeting, sino-sino po ang nandun? Meron ba kayong kasama rito na sa hearing na yan?
Actually, it's like this, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Almost 2 years, we have been doing this referendum by way of email in conducting the regular business of the Sugar Board. Because right after the pandemic started, the board secretary resigned from the SRA Sugar Board.
The board secretary resigned. What is the name?
Attorney
Who is John Paul D. Antas?
Attorney Benyas, Madam Chair, was the board secretary.
Now, who is this John Paul D. Antas?
He is the staff now at the office of the board secretary.
Oh, is he an OIC?
No, no, Madam Chair.
Acting board?
Neither.
How come he's signing in behalf of the? He's saying he's an acting board secretary.
I am not aware.
Do you have any lawyers in your board who could guide you thoroughly with this kind of situation? Because, when you sign something, especially po ay public document, at ito po ay para po sa interes na nakakarami, higit sa mga mahihirap, palagay ko dapat meron kayong abogado man lang dyan. Kasi kung you're not a board, kung hindi kayo kompleto. Tama ba? Do I made myself clear?
Yes po, Your Honor.
Oo. So bakit nyo ginawa yan? Hindi ba kayo nagrekomenda sa presidente na kayo po ay walang board secretary, kulang kayo sa board?
Yun po, we requested OGCC, in this case, the Sugar Board of SRA, but the memorandum of agreement expired, Your Honor. So it is due for renewal in this case. But meantime, we are doing everything through referendum, which are documented by every vote of every board member.
Okay, Mr. Chair, with my fellow colleagues, I just wanted to remind everybody na in terms of ISO or protocol system or internal audit, napakahalaga po na kompleto ang lahat ng mga tao at ng mga dokumento. I mean, hindi ka pa pwede umakto ng nag-iisa ka lamang. Kasi kung kulang ka, hindi kayo kompleto. Tapos kung hindi din legit yung pagpirma ninyo, napakalaking question po nun. So ibabalik ko na po ngayon ang pagtatanong sa ating kasama, Congressman PD Berzaga, you're now recognized.
Madam Chair, just a point of clarification to the what Kong PD Barsaga mentioned earlier. So they were saying na they sent emails to the palace regarding the sugar importation plan. However, wala po kayong natanggap na sagot, tama? But even tama po, Madam Chair, maski na wala pa po kayong natanggap na sagot, you still continued on with the referendum. Is that right?
On my part, Your Honor, I asked Cosleo on August 8th, what is his instructions? And so he said to make appropriate endorsement for referendum.
So in the absence of any answer from the Secretary, the President, you still proceeded regardless?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, may I add additional question also? Kong, sorry po is there anybody there's the Department of Agriculture at the back who would would like to say something on that statement of Mr. Serafica na ang tanong nga kahit nga hindi nila nakakausap ang presidente pero sila may referendum, palagay ko hindi pa rin ho tama iyon. Meron po ba dyan sa nakasama na makakapagsabi na meron bang instruction ang Pangulo? That's the bottom line Kasi that's actually meron bang instruction ng Pangulo na kayo ay pumirma o ipirma siya na siya naman po yung nakakausap po ninyo? Meron bang nagbigay na instruction?
I answer that?
Yes, you may, Mr. Sebastian.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we have prepared briefing materials for the President about the situation of the sugar industry. And as already explained by Administrator Serapica, and there is already a serious problem with our sugar supply starting way back, but in July it's becoming more serious. And we briefed the President during our meeting.
Excuse me, I was just asking kung merong instruction. We understood very well. Naintindihan po namin na sinasabi ninyo na kayo ay nagpresenta, nag-email kayo, may sulat kayo, nakipag-usap kayo, at may consultation kayo. Maliwanag po yon. Ang tanong ko lang po, kayo po ba ay nagsabi sa Pangulo na pipirmahan ko to, Mr. President?
I signed by authority of that memorandum.
No. What I'm asking is, I know you signed by the authority, but ang tanong, did you go to the President and ask him, Mr. President, with all of the things that we have showed you and presented to you, can I sign this SO4? Yes or no?
The answer will be no, Madam President. But
That's it. Thank you so much.
Chair.
Thank you so much, Congressman Gonzaga.
Balik tayo sa referendum. Ang sabi ni Mr. Serafica, nagkaroon ng referendum and the result of the referendum is for the approval of Sugar Order number 4. Okay?
Tama po.
Yung Sugar Order number 3, was that also the product of a referendum?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What about the previous orders? Sugar Order number 2, Sugar Order number 1, referendum din.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sa referendum, nagpapadala lang kayo ng email sa mga miyembro at tinatanong nyo kung pumapayag sila o hindi.
They manifest their votes there.
They manifest
Yes.
kung pumapayag sila o hindi.
Yes po.
Next question. You know the importance of importation of sugar.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know the magnitude or the volume of sugar together with the value to be imported.
Yes, Your Honor.
Hindi ba dapat na mas mabuti sana, nag-meeting muna kayong lahat ng board instead of conducting a referendum para we can discuss everything. Pero kayo, tanong na lang sa member, payag ka ba o hindi? Payag, etc.
In the referendum, Your Honor, they make their clarifications or comments.
Okay. Insofar as Attorney Beltran is concerned, did he make any clarification?
He did not.
He
Your
did
Honor.
not. What about Valderrama?
He did not, Your
He
Honor.
did that also. So walang nag-clarify. Okay, next question. Nang sabi mo kanina, July 1st, automatic resign si Attorney Beltran. Pero nagpadala pa kayo ng memo sa kanya, ng email. Yes or no?
yung sugar board ang nagpadala, hindi po ang office ng administrator. Kasi po, nagkaroon ng kalituhan sa SRA, Your Honor.
Okay, okay. So, siya ang nagpadala. Next question. Ang sabi ni Atty. Beltran, automatic resign na siya ng July 1st. Ang una kong tanong, after July 1st, pumapasok pa ba sa opisina si Atty. Beltran?
Hindi po.
Hindi na pumapasok. Si Atty. Beltran ba, inalis ang mga kanyang personal gamit sa kanyang room?
Hindi po.
So, in other words, talagang parang hindi siya nagre-resign. Parang ngayon lang niya sinabi na nag-resign siya as of, siya ay hindi na connected as of July 1st. I don't really know. Kasi nahihirapan tayo. Pumapasok pa siya o hindi na?
Kami po, Your Honor, we are in holdover capacity as the
No,
OCC.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Atty. Beltran. Ang sabi niya, he considers himself resigned sapagkat of Memorandum Order Number 1. Automatic, ipso facto. Yan ang position niya. And that is not your position.
That's correct. Your
Oh, ang position mo, hold over.
Yes
Ang
po.
tanong ko lang, kung nag-resign si Beltran, he considers himself not resigned, but terminated. Meron pa ba siyang ginagawa sa inyong opisina? Starting July 1. Actions which are consistent with this position that he is no longer connected with SRA. Yes.
Mr. Chair, there is MC3, Mr. Chair, that clarified the position of Board Member Beltran. MC3 does not include government-owned and controlled corporation. So that means Attorney Beltran was not actually coterminous as he has claimed for as of July 1. So in effect, Mr. Chair, he was still a member even after July 1, 2022. And that is the basis by which he participated in the referenda for SO4, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay. I'll just quote the paragraph number 22 of Attorney Roland B. Beltran. The next day, August 9, at about 3:09 p.m., I received another email from Mr. John Paul Antes of the Office of the Board Secretary requesting my permission to use my e-signature for the resolution and sugar order, and asking me to instruct the office staff to scan these documents and send them back to him after my signature and the signature of board member Aurelio Gerardo Valderrama have been affixed, so that Administrator Serapica and His Excellency President Ferdinand Marcos can also sign them, implying that the President has also approved the sugar order number 4. Mr. Serapica, insofar as paragraph 22 is concerned, wherein Attorney Beltran stated that His Excellency President Ferdinand E. Marcos can also sign them, implying that the President has also approved the sugar order number 4. What is your comment on this statement?
Decision in his manifestation in the referendum, Your Honor.
And what is his manifestation?
I think it is clear in that email thread. It is there in that email thread, Your Honor.
That
I just do not want to miss words on his manifestation, but it is clear in his manifestation, his position on sugar order number 4, Your Honor. I would like to clarify, Your Honor, though Attorney Beltran has not been going to the office, but he has been active in performing his duties as board member, especially on referendum matters through the email,
Okay.
Your Honor.
I have many more inquiries, but I will just make an issue regarding this. We have Rosendo So, Chairman, Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura, and he made this on One News, the chips, August 17, 2022. Sugar in illegal import order already shipped to the Philippines Agri Group. Okay? Dated August 10. What can you say about this?
Ano po yun, Your Honor?
I'll approach you so that you can see this publication. It's okay. I'm a little bit younger. Una.
1 week before. Dumating na daw na shipment and the rest of 1 week before after ban.
How can the shipment of SO4 come in, Your Honor, nga wala pa pong aplikasyon?
Wala pang application. Okay? There was no application yet.
In this instance,
No, okay. So there's no application yet. Did you entertain any application for sugar order number 4?
none,
None, Your Honor. About Attorney Tejada. You mentioned a while ago na you were never consulted insofar as sugar order number 4 is concerned.
Yes, that will be correct, Mr. Chair.
Previously, kinukonsult ba kayo katulad ng sugar order number 3?
Idea is, yes, sir, because before the endorsement to the Sugar Board, there is what we call the routing of the endorsement form, wherein all the department managers and the deputies would affix their signature, even customarily, that is the practice, rather.
In this particular case, yung mga department managers, which before should affix their signature, wala dito sa sugar order number 4.
Including the deputies, rather, and the legal department.
Sino ganong karaming tao yung wala sa signature?
We have 3 deputies. We have the managers for the research, development, and extension, the regulation, the legal department, at least the planning and the planning department, Your Honor.
Can you conceive of any reason kung bakit hindi sila pinapirma? Although the practice is that they should have the signature.
I cannot, Your Honor, except to say that we did not affix our signature.
Hindi mo ba tinanong sa kay Mr. Serapika? Bakit wala kayong signature at hindi kayo tinanong tungkol dito sa sugar order number 4?
I had no occasion to ask that question, Your Honor.
You don't have any occasion?
Yes, Your Honor.
So in short, insofar as you are concerned, and based on your answer, the issuance of sugar order number 4 which was not in accordance with the practice in the Sugar Regulatory Administration. Will that be correct, Attorney?
That would be accurate, Your Honor.
That would be accurate. One last question. There was a complaint of the planters and the farmers. Mr. Serapika, yung daw farm implements, hindi mo nire-release sa mga farmers at higit sa lahat, ang inuna mo ay pagbili ng hospital equipment. What can you say about this allegation?
that is very untrue, Your Honor.
Very untrue. We'll find out that later regarding the group which made that assertion. Marami na nag-aantay sa akin. You want me to continue?
No. Okay. Maybe because question lang po. Opo. Mr. Serapika and former Yusek Sebastian, pag nagpapatawag po ba kayo ng board meeting, sino po ba talaga ang dapat magpatawag ng board meeting? Si SRA administrator po ba o ang ating ang ating ex officio or ang ating chairman? Sino po? Kayo lang na pwede magpatawag ng board meeting o kailangan po ang ating DA secretary na siya pong chairman nito ang magpatawag?
In the practice in SRA, Madam Chair, the Office of the Administrator initiates all the important board matters. We bring or submit them to the Office of the Sugar Board for referendum.
Okay, that is the practice. Pero po yung mandate and polisiya po talaga. Ano po ang legal? Ang magpapatawag po ang inyong chairman o kayo lamang? Well, I'm referring to the president, okay? I understand po, you keep on telling us the practice eh. Siguro po, dun talaga tayo may problema kasi you keep on saying the practice. There's a system, sabihin, may system rotten ang system natin. Question lang tanong lang, kung sa mandato po talaga ninyo o sa polisiya ninyo, sino po talaga ang dapat magpatawag? Ang administrador po ba o ang ating ex-officio o ang ating chairman, President Bongbong Marcos?
The chair can ask for a meeting, and the same way the administrator or any member of the sugar board can initiate a meeting, call for a meeting. But in this case,
To initiate, what I'm telling is who will call the shots? Who will call the shots? The chairman or the administrator?
either of the two, Your Honor, in the absence of the chair.
No. What the chairman is not absent. He's always meeting you. I know that. Let me clear things straight, okay? Who is authorized to call for a consultative meeting or a board meeting? The chairman or the administrator?
For consultative meeting, Madam Chair, the administrator can call for a consultative meeting.
But for as a whole, because you are deciding for a very, very critical resolution, an order, who should call the shot? The administrator or the chairman?
In this case, Your Honor, I did not call the shots.
Who called the shots?
I just made my own manifestation as administrator, and so with the
So you did not call for the meeting. So therefore, the referendum or the SO is really illegal. Because you did not call the shot. Who called the shot? It's not even less than the president. That's illegal. That's all, Your Honor.
Madam Chair.
Honors, yes.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Yes.
maybe you
Congressman
can,
Bacolod.
Yes, Ko.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
I know.
Ano lang, we just like to get lang the reaction very briefly of Mr. Serapica on the statement of SRA. Bakit hindi sila nakonsulta, Madam Chair?
Okay. Kasi para hindi na humaba eh. Ang gusto lang naman natin malaman kung illegal ba itong referendum na to o SO4 na ito. Regardless na po kung nakonsulta sila. Kasi alam niyo po, bago po sumalang ang inyong chairman dito po sa committee hearing na ito, talagang inaral ko ho ito dahil ayoko pong humarap sa inyong lahat na wala po kaming alam. Ang gusto ho namin malaman ninyo na lahat kami dito, pinag-aralan at binasa ang inyong mga ginawa at hindi lang po yon, nag-imbestiga pa po ang inyong chairman dito. Pwede po ba natin sagutin si Mr. Ferrer kung ano po ang kanyang katanungan? Congressman Ferrer, sorry. Gasataya, sorry.
Your Honor, when the three deputies and the legal manager of SRA invoked MC1 and SRA, I felt that the dynamics in SRA changed. And so in this case, that we will be submitting an importation plan to the President, I felt it was strictly confidential.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Mr. Serafica, on the record po, for the record, we have lawyers here who are also observing from us. Nakapaligid lang po sila. And they are now here really, if you want to see them, it's all nakapaligid dyan sa atin yung mga lawyers na nasa atin na nagvo-volunteers. No, hindi man po kami lahat abogado, but we are telling you this. If it's confidential, we know, but you should not have issued that SO4. No? Okay. Let me go on
Madam
with
Chair,
Congressman Yulo.
to clarify the matter on who can call a meeting, the SRA has the Manual of Corporate Governance, specifically Section 13 thereof. And I would like to read into the records, paragraph A thereof, Chairman of the Board. Number 1, preside over all board meetings. Number 3, call meetings to the board secretary to enable the board to perform the duties and responsibilities.
Okay, thank you so much, Congressman Yulo. You're very helpful to us. Thank you so much. Okay, we'd like now to acknowledge Congressman, our Vice Chair, Congressman Rodante Marcoleta.
Po na ba ito, Madam Chair?
Totoo na po.
Mr. Sebastian, bakit po kayo nag-resign?
Mr. Chair, when the President disapproved the SO4, I decided for delicadeza to resign to spare the President the controversy that is arising because of that approval, Mr. President, Mr. Chair.
So, lumilitaw po, Mr. Sebastian, kayo rin po yung gumawa kung bakit na-disapprove, hindi po ba? Kasi
Yes.
hindi nyo siguro hiniling sa kanya na makapag-import kayo formally and legally. Hindi alam ng Pangulo, nagdesisyon po kayo na mag-import ng 300 metric tons. Hindi pala alam ng Pangulo sa makatwid, kayo rin po ang gumawa ng dahilan kung bakit kayo nag-resign. Tama po ba?
I misread the intention of the President, Mr. Chair. As I have, if I will be allowed to explain, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sebastian, how is it possible that you can misread the intention of the President? He is the chairman of the SRA. On July 29 this year, I know that you had requested for a guideline to reclassify sea sugar to B sugar. And for the simple reason of asking a reclassification, you ask a guideline from the President.
Guidance, yes, Mr. Chair.
Guidance.
And that
And that is very important. Even in the matter of reclassification of sugar, you thought that it is important to consult the President. Is it not?
yes, Mr. Chair.
Pero dito po, mag-iimporta kayo ng 300,000 metric tons. Hindi mo man lang kinonsider na ipaalam sa kanya?
I sent a memo on August 5, Mr. Chair, to the President, already indicating the SO4 that indicating the
Mr.
300,000.
Sebastian, yung pong direktang pagkonsulta sa Pangulo, napakasimple po nun eh. Para hindi na kayo nagkaintindihan, para wala na sanang misunderstanding, diretso na. Kayo po yung undersecretary na dinesignate siya, isang malaking posisyon na may pagtitiwala.
That is
Kahit na
correct.
text lang eh. Mr. President, can we import 300 metric tons of sugar? Kasi kulang na po yan eh. Direkta,
don't have
Mr.
text-
Sebastian.
I don't have text access to the
No.
President.
This is not a laughing matter,
I
Mr.
don't have text
Sebastian.
access, Mr. Chair.
Sinasabi lang natin, kung yung pagre-reclassify lang ng sugar eh. Naintindihan namin dahil importante yun eh. Sa totoo lang, hiningi mo na i-reclassify para kahit pa paano maibsan na yung pagkawala
That's
ng
correct,
sugar.
Mr. Chair.
Because kapag na-reclassify mo yung sea sugar which is reserved, magiging
B sugar, Mr. Chair.
domestic na, di ba?
Domestic. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Anong nangyari doon, di ba? Sinabi ng presidente ba, o sige, reclassify mo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
O bakit yun eh, nagawa mo.
During the August 1
I
meeting,
know,
Mr.
pero
Chair.
ito sinasabi natin kasi let's get to the bottom of this. Kanina pa ito eh, madali namang intindihin ito eh. Kung direktang alam ng Pangulo na mag-aangkat tayo ng 300,000 metric tons, walang problema eh, paligoy-ligoy pa tayo. Meron kayong makasamang hindi ninyo kinonsulta, merong hindi po, maliwanag naman na talagang merong gumawa sa inyo at talagang pinagtibay na kumuha ng o magangkat ng 300 metric tons. I will ask you, Mr. Serapica, kabisado mo naman yung Executive Order number 18. Ito po yung batas na gumawa ng SRA, tama po ba? I would like to believe that you are familiar with Executive Order number 18. Kabisado mo ito siguro. I assume that. Tama po?
Opo.
Meron po bang nakasulat dyan na importation?
Under the SIDA law, your
No, sagutin mo. Meron bang nakasulat na importation sa Executive Order number 18? Yung salitang importation, meron po bang nakasulat?
wala po, Your Honor.
Wala, di ba? Because under the objectives of the SRA, talagang katungkulan ninyo na pangalagaan ng production eh. Sa totoo lang, it is the responsibility of SRA. Meron pa nga meron pa nga agriculture coefficient. Ibig sabihin, babantayan nyo ang bawat landowner kung anong capacity niya mag-produce ng sugar locally. Kaya nga hindi binanggit dyan ng importation. Bakit po tayo, Madam Chair, napunta sa kondisyon na kailangan tayo magangkat ng sugar kung pinanindigan nyo lamang ang objectives ng SRA? Gusto ko basahin sa inyo. Institute an orderly system in sugarcane production for the stable, sufficient, and balanced production of sugar for consumption, for exportation, and strategic reserves. Walang sinasabing mag-i-importa ka eh. Sinasabi niyo rito, stable and sufficient for consumption, exportation, and reserves. Hindi na nga tayo nag-export eh. Pati ang ating domestic, kung ako, wala na eh, di ba? Meron po kayong pinroduce na refined sugar production and demand. Paano po nyo na-compute yung demand? How do you compute the demand or the national consumption?
On a weekly basis, Your Honor, first on the production side.
Hindi nga yung demand muna.
Okay, yung
How do you determine the national demand?
as far as sugar, both raw and refined, Your Honor, we have actual withdrawals from the mills, and that we consider that withdrawals as consumption, Your Honor.
Ganun lang.
Opo.
O kaya pala, ito, tingnan ninyo, yung crop. Yung tinatawag nyo rito from September to August, anong tawag nyo rito?
Crop year po, from
Crop year.
September
Titingnan mo,
1.
kung titingnan mo, this is the cycle eh. September, October, November talagang wala ka na eh. Pagkatapos yung June, July, and August, wala na rin.
Yes po.
So this is the standard. Palaging ganito. Bakit naman hindi nyo natutunto nito na alam nyo pala sa ganitong mga period wala ng sugar para hindi na tayo nag-i-import? Isip-isipin po ninyo yung sinasabi nyo rito. Ito po yung powers ng SRA. Recommend the establishment of a sugar production coefficient and a production quota which shall be attached to the land for each of the planter. So what is the sugar production coefficient?
I am not aware of that.
You are not aware of this. This is written in the executive order. Kaya pala tayo nag-i-import eh. Imagine niyo, napaka-detalye nito eh. Ito pong sugar production coefficient and production quota, it will be attached to the land of each planter. Bakit po? Because you are supposed to institute regulation for implementing, controlling, and monitoring the production quotas. Ito dapat ang ginagawa ninyo eh. Sa mga tweed, alam ninyo kung ano ipoproduce ng bawat planter. Alam ninyo kung kailan tayo mawawalan. At alam din natin kung kailan tayo mag-import. Hindi tayo pwedeng mag-import because kung ginampanan ninyo yung objective na ito, hindi tayo mawawalan po eh. Isip-isipin mo, kailangan pala merong sugar production coefficient. Hindi mo pala alam yun, Mr. Serapika. Talagang malilintikan tayo. To establish domestic, export, and reserve allocation. So walang sinasabing importation dito. Ang establish mo rito is domestic, export, and reserve. Paano po tayo napunta sa ganitong kondisyon? Dahil nga po hindi nyo minonitor, hindi nyo na-regulate, wala po talaga eh. Pati nga demand eh. Ang sabi nyo, yung withdrawal eh. Withdrawal lang. Ganun lang kasimple. Akala ko po bang production natin is 1.9 million metric tons?
Yun po ang estimate po. Every start
Okay.
of each crop year.
Meron kayong estimate sa supply. Pero yung demand, yung supply, yung withdrawal ang ginagamit ninyo.
Opo.
Paano po ninyo gagawin yun? Tingnan po ninyo, 75% of the 62,000 sugarcane planters own less than 5 hectares. Ang bilang po nun ay 46,500 planters. Paano niya minomonitor yun? Less than 5. Yung iba, malaki to. Baka madali pa yun eh. But 46,500 sugar planters, how do you monitor their production quotas? You don't even know that. Alam po nyo, napakasimple lang nito eh. Madam Chair, dahil nga sa nawalan ng sugar, alam mo pati mga langgam nagrarally na ngayon. Hindi naman dapat mangyari po yun eh.
At siya na pakiusap na ating mga mahirap na kababayan niyo.
Napakasimple, Madam Chair. Kamukha nito, kayo po nagbigay sa amin ito. Recommendation of stakeholders. Ito po, mga pangalan, ano? Confed. So mga ayon sa rito, 300,000 metric tons, sabi niya. Raw sugar, 150. Refined, 150. NFSP, di ko po kilala ito eh. So mga ayon din, 300 metric tons. Panay Fed, 300,000. Luzon Fed, Unifed, Joint Resolution, 300 metric tons. PSMA, 300 metric tons. Bakit po sila sumang-ayon, Mr. Serapica, pagkatapos pumunta sa opisina ng Pangulo at nag-complain sila about the importation of 300 metric tons?
Your Honor, sila po ay nag-submit ng kanilang mga rekomendasyon. Yun po ang binasihan ng SO4.
So, ngayon, yun nga po yung nakalagay rito. Bakit sila rin ang parang nagko-complain kung bakit nag-aangkat kayo ng 300 metric tons? Hindi maintindihan kung ano talaga ang gusto ninyong mangyari.
Hindi ko po alam yan, Your Honor.
Akala ko pa meron po kayong consultation.
Yes po, itong mga nagpadala sa SRA ng kanilang mga rekomendasyon, yan po, written recommendation to the SRA. Kung sila din po ang nagreklamo ngayon na hindi na sila sang-ayon ng 300,000 metric tons, hindi ko po yun alam ano ang dahilan nila po.
Kaya po, masyadong magulo ang ating SRA. Pati po yung inyong board. Meron kayong representative ng millers, meron kayong representative ng planters, pero wala kayong representative ng consumer. Tama po po? Kaya po ang palaging tinatamaan dito yung consumer dahil hindi po ninyo natatanong. Hindi nyo nakukonsulta yung consumer. Basta kawawa ang consumer dito. Hindi ngayon alam ng consumer na kayo pala ang dapat na magmalasakit sa production side pa lang. Imo-monitor pala ninyo every planter. Imagine ninyo, hindi nyo pala alam ang sarili ninyong batas that you will have to assign sugar coefficient production. Para ngayon nakikita ninyo kung mawawalan tayo o hindi. Ang nakalagay pa nga po rito, Mr. Serapica, kailangan po ng innovative research and development programs in coordination with the private sector. Ano po ang ginagawa ninyo para ma-innovate natin ang sugar? Meron po ba tayo mga sugarcane ngayon na kahit tamaan ng sari-saring bagyo, matibay yung balat niya na parang kawayan para hindi bumaba yung juice ng sugar? Meron po ba tayong ganon?
Mayroon tayo mga high resilient varieties
Oo nga
ngayon
po. Sino po ang nagre-research sa ilalim ng SRA in coordination with the private sector?
Well, we are on a memorandum of agreement with an international research station, JIRCAS in Japan, that's giving us...
Oo nga po kung merong ganon, tinamaan kayo ng audit. Ito yung sinasabi nyo ngayon na kaya tayo ngayon mababa ng 200,000 metric tons dahil tinamaan tayo ng audit. Ito kung meron na tayo niyan, yung balat ng tubo na yan, kasintibay ng kawayan na bayog, di ba? O hindi, in recovery natin should be at least the worldwide recovery rate of 95%. What is our recovery rate today? Mr. Serapica.
Well, our recovery rate as we speak, Your Honor, we are in the vicinity of 1.9 to 2 LKGTC per hectare.
Ang sinasabi ko yung rate of recovery. Kasi nga kung dumating ang bagyo, kasi di ba kalaban ng yung bagyo, ang tubig?
Opo, Your Honor.
Ang rate po ng recovery ngayon is 95%. Sa atin, ilan ang rate of recovery? Extraction recovery po. Ito yung tubo. I-extract mo po 'yan. Siyempre merong nawawala. Kumbaga sa Meralco, system loss. Di ba? Ano ang system loss mo?
Malaki-malaki po dahil
Yun ang sinasabi ko sa gaano kalaki?
nasa 0.65.
0.65, Madam Chair, ang layo natin sa world recovery rate. Talagang mawawalan tayo ng sugar. Ang sinasabi ng SRA, dapat innovative tayo. Lahat gawin natin. So, magkano sa budget mo yung research? Magkano ang budget natin sa research and technology and
15
development?
15% of the SIDA law, Mr. Chair.
Ano po?
That's 325 million if we are given the full account of the SIDA law. But
Hindi, magkano po yung budget mo sa research?
under SIDA law, it depends on what is for us in the GAA. If we are given much, then
Itong mga nakaraan
percentage-wise.
last year, ilan ang budget mo? Bakit hindi mo masabi-sabi?
yung budget ng IBC tournament?
Pati budget na research mo, hindi mo pa alam. Talagang
155 million, Your Honor.
155 million. Alam mo ba ang suggested ng UNESCO kung magkano dapat ang research?
I do not know, Your
1%
Honor.
of the GDP. O 155,000. That's only 0.0001 the GDP. Alam mo, Mr. Serapica, kung ganito ang na hindi man lang pala ninyo alam ang nakasulat sa objective, 1986 pa po itong batas na ito. Nagtataka ko, hanggang ngayon, hindi mo pala alam na merong sugar production coefficient. If you do not know this, hindi mo matutuntun, hindi mo mamamonitor ang production per tenant. Ito yung nakalagay dito. Per tenant, you have to monitor and regulate. Hindi nyo ginagawa. Ito ay kapabayaan talaga. Kaya talaga mawawalan tayo ng sugar. Pero hindi sana ganun kalaki ang problema eh. Magsasabi kayo agad, 300,000. Bakit hindi 50,000? Si BBM naman, pag sinabihan mo, boss, kulang po tayo ng 50,000 metric tons. Maniniwala siya kay Mr. Sebastian. Siyang naglagay dyan eh. Hindi nyo man lang sinabi.
Honorable Dante Marcoleta, your time has elapsed, so may we request that you wind up with your questions?
Tapos na.
Okay, thank
Tapos
you
na
so
ba ako?
much, Congressman Marcoleta. Ang sinasabi lang po ng ating Vice Chairman ay kayo po bilang sa SRA, dapat nagpo-promote po kayo ng ating mga sariling manggagawa. Pinalalakas ang millers at inaalam kung ano ba ang pulisiyang nararapat para maiangat ang antas ng ating mga magsasaka. Kaya po, Mr. Sebastian and Mr. Serafica,
Madam,
when you
magpapaint
said...
up pa ako, 1 minute na lang.
Okay, sige po.
Okay.
Okay.
Sino po ba, Mr. Serapica o Mr. Sebastian, ang talagang nagsabi sa inyo na ituloy natin itong 300 metric tons? Ito lang po kasi ang usapin. 300,000 metric tons.
Based on the recommendations of the stakeholders, written recommendations of the stakeholders, we took it from there.
So hindi na po necessary na itanong ninyo sa pinaka-chairman ninyo who happens to be the President of the Philippines. Kayo-kayo na lamang po. Yung 200,000 na in-import nyo last May, di ba alam po ng Pangulo yun?
Yung 200,000 metric tons under SO3 galing din po ang rekomendasyon, written recommendations ng mga stakeholders po.
Pero alam din ng Pangulo yon, di mo ba?
Hindi po during that time ni Pangulong Duterte po.
Oo nga, hindi alam ni Pangulong Duterte yung 200,000 na nagano sila, nag-import sila.
Mr. Serafica, would you like to take an answer? Ang tanong niyo po ay si Mr. Duterte, si Pangulong Duterte po o Pangulong BBM? Mga po naguguluhan si Mr. Serafica.
During that time, the ex-officio chair was Secretary William Dar, and he was always active in our referendums.
Oo nga, si Pangulong Duterte, kay si William Dar, pero nakuha niyo yung approval niya, di ba?
Opo.
Oh, 200,000 yon. Itong 300, kayo-kayo na lang, hindi niyo kinonsulta yung Pangulo. Yun ilang ang problema dun eh. Tama. Walang direktang pagkonsulta sa Pangulo. Do sa 200 naman, nung May po, Mr. Serapica,
Sinabi naman nila.
meron pong dalawang writ of preliminary injunction na inisyo yung korte ng Sagay City and Himamaylan City in Bacolod, in Negros Occidental. But despite the effectivity of the two preliminary injunction order, nagtuloy pa rin po kayo. Bakit po?
Yung OGCC na yung restrictions ng TRO hanggang doon lang po sa Region 6. So kaya nga po pinatuloy namin dito sa Quezon City yung pag-accept ng application po.
Ang ibig po ninyong sabihin, Mr. Serapica, the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel can defy the order of the trial courts. Mas marunong pa po ba yung OGCC sa trial courts? Bakit mas naniwala po kayo sa OGCC kaysa korte? Hindi po ninyo iginalang yung dalawang existing writ of preliminary injunction. Nagtuloy pa rin kayo. Parang ang nangyayari, Madam Chair, talagang enthusiastic. Bakit po? Bakit napaka-excited? Salamat po, ma'am. Ay, sir. Bakit po kayo excited? Di mo ba niya naisip na, teka muna, meron pong preliminary injunction. Mahirap po ito, nakakahiya po ito na itutuloy natin. Ngayon po, wala pa pong basbasang Pangulo. Itutuloy nyo sana eh. Ito po yung nakakaligalig na po, Madam Chair. Salamat po.
Your Honor, just quickly, on the TRO, when the TRO was issued, we automatically issued a memo circular advising all that the application shall be deferred because of the two TROs.
Serapica, iba yung TRO sa preliminary injunction. Alam ko yung TRO, na-extend pa ngayon na 17 days eh. Pero pagkatapos ng TRO, dalawang preliminary injunction ang inisyo ng korte. And sabi nila, it should be made effective until further notice from these courts. Pero tumuloy kayo.
Thank you so much, Congressman, Vice Chairman, Congressman Dante Marcoleta, for that interpolation. I agree with you that SRA have not supported the policies and the interests of all among farmers because of these misdoings. And I also would like to say to all that whatever have been tackled now, we will definitely find out kung ano man po ang pagkakamali, and we will give you a very good answer in the next few days para hindi po tayo magtagal dahil maliwanag naman po talaga ang nangyari. This referendum is illegal, and this stakeholders meeting that you called on is also not authorized by the chairman, who happens to be the president. And if ever you have pressures coming from the stakeholders, I don't think so that that's just the reason. There are other reasons. So now I'd like to call on for another interpolation. We have Congresswoman, ang galing mo, Congressman Franz Castro ang galing sa timing, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ayan, kasi minority daw is a priority, di ba? Thank you po. Magandang hapon po sa ating mga resource person and sa ating pong mga colleagues. So, Madam Chair, if I remember it right, last time, nag-request po ako ng inventaryo ng sugar stocks. So meron na po ba yon yung inventaryo po ng mga sugar?
Attorney Tejeda, would you like to answer?
The Regulation Department conducts a yearly inventory of Quezon permits, molasses, and sugar stocks. It ended last Friday, but there are still some mills which are going inventory, ma'am. If you would allow us to submit a report coming from our survey team and the Sugar Regulatory Department.
Yes, mahalaga kasi po yun, Madam Chair, para makita natin kung tama yung decision to import sa panahon na sa gitna ng nung harvest time, milling time, etc. So, isa pa pong tanong ko, Madam Chair, last time din po yung ating ibang mga board. So, lahat na po ba ng board ay nag-resign na? Madam Chair?
Yes, it's in all the news, and we have accepted all the, we got a transmittal coming from the previous board members that they have already resigned. But still, there's still a question of the MC1 and MC3, so that our committee secretary will do a research yung kanilang kapasidad para pumirma sa resolution na yan.
So I don't know if if they are the ones who will answer my question about yung, kasi hindi naman sapat yung pagre-resign, di ba? They have committed illegal act. They have committed, ano po ba yung gagawin, kaugnay niyaan? Kasi hindi lang sapat yung nagre-resign. Imagine, pumirma in behalf of the president, parang sinang-ayunan din ng mga ibang board. Pero ano na po ba yung status, Madam Chair, ng investigation kaugnay nito? Saan ba ito pupunta? Sa ombudsman or sa ano bang agency?
Okay, Congresswoman France, we are actually with the lawyers here, so we will be awaiting for the recommendation, because the mere fact that the board resolution, that the board convene, without the chairman, who happens to be the president, and come up with this kind of resolution and signing for in behalf of the president, I think that's already a question. So we will be reviewing all of those, and kung saan po ito mapupuntang constitutional commissions, then we will all deliver this into the committee also, into the public, as para po transparent po tayo, Congresswoman.
So, nandito
France.
po yung mga legal, Madam Chair, sinasabi niyo.
Yeah, we are actually, because we have know that, I'd like, as much as I wanted to adopt yung sa Senado, syempre hindi naman tayo ganun kalaki ang ating resources. So I have invited volunteers, lawyers to listen to us right now na merong kaalaman sa mga ganito. So they could also refer to us kung ano man recommend to us kung ano ang dapat. And also we would like to acknowledge ang ating mga committee secretaries are also well-versed sa mga ganitong mga pangyayari. One is a CPA lawyer and the other one is a lawyer, and I'd like to commend that for that. So if we are actually in Four Falls, and with I have nawala angel ko, Congressman Barzaga, and of course Congressman Mark Enverga is also here to help us out.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kasi medyo tahimik si President Marcos kaugnay noong nung pagpipirma.
Oh.
So mukhang tahimik din yung office ng Malacanang kaugnay nito, yung sa investigation. Kasi kung talagang sincere na ang Malacanang ay talagang wala naman talaga siyang pagpayag na pumirma, 'di ba? O pirmahan siya. So dapat mabilis na siguro yung investigasyon at maano natin yung accountability ng mga involved na mga personality. So yun lang naman yung habol ko, Madam Chair, kasi parang 1 o 2 linggo na yung nangyari. Pero dapat mas mabilis yung yung office ng president doon sa pagkilos dito sa
Okay,
accountability.
Congresswoman Franz, as far as I know, naglagay na po ang ating presidente o ang ating chairman ng bagong mga board sa SRA. So yun na isang aksyon. At palagay ko, sa pagkakabasa ko sa mga dyaryo at narinig ko din sa telebisyon at napapanood ko, ipinapaubaya niya sa atin kung ano man ang pagkakamali na ginawa ng ating itong mga kasama ngayon. Dahil definitely, as I've said, as far as I know, yung kanilang ginawa ay illegal. So, let's just work on that. We will not be playing by ears, but definitely there is already a solution do sa iyong request. Yun lang po, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ako po, nirerespeto po natin yung mga officer o mga board ng SRA, si Yusek Sebastian, at saka yung iba pa po, si Engineer Serafico at Serafica at iba pa pong iba pa pong mga board ng SRA. So, kasi nakalagay naman dito dun sa pinamigay po natin merong mga pagsang-ayon ng iba't ibang mga stakeholders na para dun sa 300 metric ton. At nakita natin majority naman yung So, sa proseso po, halimbawa po, Madam Chair, tanong ko lang po kay Engineer Serafica, So pag ganun po ba, sa pagdidesisyon ninyo, pag ganun po ba, is it parang ministerial ba yung pagpirma ng chairman or talagang kailangan pang isot yung kanyang, pagpayag? Kasi bakit, Madam Chair, napakatapang nung pumirma in behalf of the President kung talagang wala silang clue na pumapayag si President. So yun lang po yung tanong ko. Ang lakas ng loob na magpirma for in behalf of the President, na tingin naman nila ay magkakaroon ng repercussion ito. So ano po yung ng lakas ng loob sa inyo para magpirma?
Yusek Sebastian, former Yusek Sebastian, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The urgency of the situation, Madam Chair, and based on my interaction with the President during the meeting, August 1 meeting, and also on the feedback of the meeting of Administrator Serapica, again with the President, Executive Secretary, and Board Member Balderrama on August 4, wherein they came out with a sugar importation program that I transmitted to the President. That gave me the inclination, or that gave me the feeling that there is an urgency of this matter, and that we need to act as soon as possible, Madam Chair. And that I also expressed in my memo to the President on August 5 that the board will meet as soon as possible to decide on that sugar order number 4. So, Madam Chair, as I have just that's why I said I may have misread the intent of the President when I post through with deciding on that matter based on the authorization that was given to me last July 15, 2022. But that's why, Madam Chair, when I realized that I have misread the intention of the President, when he disapproved it, I immediately gave my resignation out of delicadeza and to spare the President of any other of the issues that have arose because of sugar order number 4, Madam Chair.
Thank you po, Yusek. Former Yusek Sebastian. Kasi po sa nakita kung naging naging action nyo doon sa SO number 4. So, ang ibig sabihin nun, pag sinabing 4, direktang nagsabi sa inyo si Pangulo. Pero it is your feeling lang pala na parang umuo siya doon sa napagmitingan ng board or doon sa sinabi niyong urgency ng matter. So, yun lang po, Madam Chair. Thank you po.
Thank you so much, Congressman Franz Castro. So, we now proceed with the next interpolator who happens to be from Antipolo, Congressman Manong Romy Acop. You have now the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Well, our chairwoman has already stated na unauthorized yung pagtawag ng meeting ng board at illegal yung sugar order number 4. So, I would just like to amplify kung bakit hindi tama, Madam Chair. May I ask Attorney Tejada?
Tejeda, sir.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Before sugar order number 4, there were other sugar orders before that.
Yes, sir. On import particularly, there was SO number 3.
Yes. And did you observe the provisions of your manual insofar as SRA is concerned?
As far as the regulation department on SO3, sir, we were consulted by the good administrator during that time, and we really discussed the entire provisions of SO3.
When you say consulted, what does consulted mean?
The administrator, because our department is in charge of the data, the administrator needs the guidance of the regulation department as to the actual data, so as to come up with a sugar order which reflects really the actual data, sir.
In sugar order number 4, you were not consulted.
No such consultation, sir, as earlier manifested also by the administrator.
Could you give us a reason why you were not consulted insofar as SO number 4 is concerned?
Personally, sir, I cannot see any reason, and I don't want to speculate on that reason, sir.
And may I ask Mr. Serafica and Yusek Sebastian, bakit hindi nyo ginawa yung protocol in accordance with your manual?
In this case, Your Honor, I was a victim of MC1, Memorandum Circular number 1. When it came out, the 3 deputies and the legal department manager talked among themselves that, you know, our term ended on June 30, 2022. And so I felt not to create chaos in the office. I just packed up my things and stepped aside. But myself, I knew fully well that I am not covered in MC number 1 because as a GOCC, we are holdover until such time the replacement or the new appointees will report to SRA. So I felt that they breached my trust as far as SRA below me, officials and SRA. And at that point, as I said earlier, we have so many sugar orders precedent on these issues, and it is just a question of getting the current data needed in crafting such sugar order.
Would that be true insofar as Yusek Sebastian is concerned?
Regarding the roles within SRA, Mr. Chair, I don't have a personal knowledge of the process that they actually undergo. But what I received, Mr. Chair, when the plan was already given, it is the letter where it was endorsed by management, Mr. Chair. Regarding the event of July, Mr. Chair, that is true that they have a internal squabble of leadership in the month of July because of the 3 deputies and the legal claiming that MC1 applied to SRA and one of the deputies assuming as OIC, Mr. Chair. And this was clarified only when MC3 was issued that said explicitly that GOCCs are not part of those covered by MC1.
Thank you. How long have you been in government, Mr. Serafica?
I was appointed, Your Honor, as board member way back 2016 under the presidency of President Duterte. And then he appointed me as administrator the year after, 2017.
Si Ginoong Sebastian, how long have you been in government?
I was in government from 1983 to 2008, Mr. Chair. Then I went to work abroad and came back in 2020, rejoined the government in 2021, Mr. Chair.
I do not know kung ano po yung training na tinanggap ninyo o kaya kinuha ninyo. Pero if you are confused regarding an order coming from the highest authority, ano po ba ang dapat ninyong gawin? Common sense lang po ang tinatanong ko. Di po ba? Sabi ni Mr. Serafica, confused siya dun sa Memorandum Circular number 1. So, when you're confused about an official directive, you in government like us, ano po ang dapat ninyong tamang kilos?
Sir,
Sa dalawa po.
Mr. Sebastian, Mr. Serafica, you are required to answer the query of the Honorable Ako.
In the case of MC1 and MC1, Mr. Chair, when they were having a squabble in SRA, what I did was to ask the legal department of DA to make a clarification. And they did issue a clarification regarding MC1, stating that it did not cover government-owned and controlled corporations. So I issued a memo to SRA recognizing the administration of Administrator Serafica. Despite that, Mr. Chair, the OIC still questioned it. So I again issued a memorandum later when MC3 was issued, finally telling the leadership, the OICs to cease and desist and strengthening my recognition of Administrator Serafica's leadership, Mr. Chair.
Ginoong Serafica, ano po ang sagot po ninyo?
What I did, Your Honor, we also sought clarification and sent a letter to the Office of the President and to GCG as well.
So in other words, Mr. Serafica, kung titingnan natin, you got clarification insofar as the order of the President was concerned.
With regards to MC1 and MC3, Your Honor.
MC1,
Yes, Your Honor.
how long a time was that?
Actually, the MC3 was the answer, Your Honor. But we did not get any reply from that letter, Your Honor.
Well, do you agree that you did not follow the protocols provided for by your manual insofar as the coming up of sugar orders are concerned?
We submitted the management.
The question Ginoong Serafica ay answerable by yes or no? Kasi kung iniimbestigan kita sa isang krimen, ang sagot mo lang po ay yes or no. Yung tanong ko po ay masasagot ng simpleng yes or no. Do you agree?
Can I have your question again, Your Honor?
Do you agree that you did not follow the protocols provided for by your manuals insofar as coming up with the sugar orders is concerned?
Well, I followed the protocol, Your Honor.
You followed the protocol, and it is rebutted by your deputy administrator.
As far as referendum is concerned, Your Honor, I submitted the endorsement of the Office of the Administrator to the Office of the Sugar Board, Your Honor.
I asked Attorney Tejeda a while ago whether they came up with a recommendation following the protocols. He said no, insofar as sugar order number 4 is concerned. But in sugar order number 3, you got the recommendation. Why is it, Ginoong Serafica, hindi mo kinuha yung recommendation ng management o yung deputy administrator dito pa sa sugar order number 4?
As I said,
Bakit hindi po nyo kinuha? Samantalang sa katatapos lang na sugar order number 3, kinuha po ninyo.
as I said earlier, the dynamics in the office has changed when MC1 was invoked by the 3 deputies and the legal manager of SRA, Your Honor.
And you interpreted by yourself the meaning of Memorandum Circular number 1. You took that upon yourself.
I did not take into consideration MC1, Your Honor, because I felt that I was on holdover capacity. I should not be just set aside by the 3 deputies who were invoking on MC1, Your Honor.
And when MC1, shall we say, resulted, insofar as your mind is concerned or your thinking is concerned, merong mga change. Hindi ba dapat nagtanong ka rin? Ano dapat?
Yes, I know, Your Honor. Nagtanong po ako. In fact, I was always in touch with the DA officials because I do not want to be charged of abandoning my position, Your Honor.
Hindi ko naman sinasabi na inabandon mo eh. Ang tinatanong ko rito, sinunod mo ba yung dapat na protocols? Hindi po ba? Umiiwas ka eh. Alam mo, Mr. Serafica, ako po ay investigador ng buong buhay ko sa gobyerno eh. Criminal and administrative. Doon pa lang sa pag-iiwas mo, nagre-ring na dito sa utak ko eh, na umiiwas ka. Di po ba? Pag sinasagot mo yung tanong ko na ang tanong ay answerable by yes or no, tapos ang haba ng sagot mo, eh, hindi po maganda sa isang investigador yon. Ano po? Kaya, yung tanong ko lang po is, did you follow your manual? You said, yes. Naguluhan ka lang sa Memorandum Circular number 1. Umiiwas ka eh. Ang tanong ko lang, did you follow the protocols? Even without MC number 1, sinunod mo ba yung protocol? Yes or no?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Kanina pa dapat yun ang sagot eh.
Actually, yan ang hinihintay ko pong sagot. Yan po ang una kong tanong sa iyo nung bago po ako sumalang. Thank you so much, Mr. Congressman Akop, and thank you also for giving that answer to us.
Thank you. Yun pong plano na pag-import ng sugar started in September 2021, which would last up to August 2022. Tama po ba?
Yung inangkat po natin, Your Honor, is based on data as also under the
Uulitin ko. Sagutin po ninyo yung sagot ko directly. Ang tanong ko po sa inyo, yung pong plano ninyo ng pang-import ng sugar started or you planned it from September 2021 to August 2022.
Ano po yung tanong, Your Honor?
Pangatlo. Ulit. Yung plano ninyong pag-import ng sugar started in September 2021 and would last up to August 2022. Tama po ba?
There was no plan to import in early September 2021, Your Honor.
When did you first initiate yung pag-import ng sugar under sugar order number 3?
January po, early January. After Odette.
January. Atin. Ito yung na may dalawang
TRO po.
TRO. Ang records ko is it started February 2022. That was the time you approved sugar order number 3. Tama?
Yeah, February po.
And you followed all the protocols. It was stymied and implemented in May of 2022. Tama?
Opo.
Yes. Dahil according to the Honorable Rodante Marcoleta, you disregarded the temporary restraining orders issued by the two courts in Negros. Tama rin po.
Actually, Your Honor, SRA did not disregard the order of the court. When the TRO came out, we immediately sent a memo circular to all applicants that the application will be postponed until such time the legal issues will be resolved, Your Honor.
But you proceeded with the importation, despite the existence of temporary restraining orders.
Actually, Your Honor, we were guided with the...
No. You answer my question. You proceeded. Did you proceed? Sagutin mo muna yun.
Yes, we
bago
did.
ka mag-explain sa akin.
Yes, we did proceed, Your Honor.
Yes, you proceeded.
Yes,
Despite the existence of the temporary restraining orders.
yes,
Because of the opinion of your government corporate counsel.
yes po.
Yes. So, kung kayo po ay mabibigyan order ng korte pala, hindi nyo susundin pag sinabi ng corporate counsel na hindi nyo dapat sundin. Is that what you're trying to tell this august body or the members of this committee?
Well, we relied on the legal advice or legal opinion of the OGCC, Your Honor. And so when they...
That is what you're trying to tell us. That the opinion of the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel, which you would follow, rather than the order of the court. That is what you are trying to tell this august body. Di po ba?
That is exactly what happened, Your Honor.
Umiiwas ka nga. Madam Chair, mahirap imbestigahan yung paiwas ng paiwas eh. Pero I would just like to make my conclusion. The signs are there na hindi tama talaga yung sugar order number 4. It was convened by somebody who is not authorized to do so. It did not follow the protocols. And as a matter of fact, doon sa sugar order number 4, hindi nila inilagay yung performance bond to be paid by participants in order to protect the government. So the signs are there, Madam Chair, na hindi tama ito. And I think the President did right not to, shall we say, honor this. And so far as sugar order number 4 is concerned, maraming salamat to, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Congressman Acop. It's a very well said, and we're on the same line. So at least po, medyo kahit paano po nakikita niyo po kung saan po kami talaga pumupunta at hindi ho kami dito po sa mababang kapulungan, hindi ho kami dito nagpapaligoy-ligoy bagkus tutumbukin na po natin para hindi na rin ho masyadong mahaba pagdating po sa public accountability. Now we'd like to call on Congressman Lee to be the next interpellator. Congressman Lee, you're now recognized.
Magandang hapon po, Madam Chair. Actually, marami akong itatanong sana, kaya lang because of time constraint, tsaka marami na rin nasagot kanina nung nagtatanong si Honorable Barsaga. Napakagaling po ng kanyang questioning. No? So marami na rin akong nalinawan. Meron na lang naiwan na I will reserve na lang dun sa next hearing siguro yung ibang question, Madam Chair. No? Meron lang akong gustong tanungin actually. Kanina kasi nalilito ako kung it seems meron talagang shortage, di ba? So, ilan ba talaga yung shortage natin, no? Na sa asukal, no? Kasi iba-iba yung nababasa ko, iba-iba yung lumalabas. Merong 150,000, meron akong nabasa, sabi naman ng mga Coca-Cola and yung mga institutional, 450,000 daw yung kailangan, no? And then meron akong nakitang isang report, galing naman ito sa US Department of Agriculture na nagsasabi for marketing year 2023 daw, which starts September 2022 up to August 2023, ang production daw ng ating sugar ay babagsak to 2 million metric tons. And then while our consumptions will remain at 2.3 million metric tons. So lumalabas ito, 300,000 metric tons ang kulang. Ito bang report na to ng USDA ay nababalidate ng ating Department of Agriculture or ng ating SRA? Ito ba ay nagsasangguni sa inyo? At ilan ba talaga yung sinasabi nating kakulangan talaga sa ating asukal?
It's about it.
Mr. Serafica, yes?
Actually, yung sinasabi po ng USDA, Your Honor, na yung estimate natin ng production mas baba pa ng 2 million for next cropping dahil po ng residual effect ng bagyo at saka yung mga tag-ulan sa Mindanao at saka sa Kabisayaan po. It will be lower than 2 million. At saka yung demand na sinasabi nila na 2.3, more or less that is the figure that have been for the past 5 years, more or less nasa 2.1 to 2.2 ganyan yung natin, yung demand po.
So itong report na to nababalidate with you ito?
I do not know now, but before it was always validated by our crop estimates section of the RD&E.
So itong shortage na to, sabi mo kanina, yung mga stakeholders na kukonsulta, yung mga UNIFED, CONFED, yung mga NFSP, okay ba sila, comfortable ba sila dito sa figure na to na kailangan na nagsasabi 300,000 metric tons talaga yung kakulangan? Or
Actually,
meron silang ibang rekomendasyon kung ilan ba?
22.
Yung nila, Your Honor, sila mismo nakikita nila ngayon yun ang dapat natin ipa-import po. Kasi yun ang nakikita nila ng kulang kasi mayroon din silang mga sariling datos, mayroong ibang mga stakeholders that they have their own database, like for example PSMA and CONFED, they maintain their own database at tumutugma naman sa mga datos po ng SRA. Kaya nga ito sila lahat parang unanimous sila na yung dapat angkatin is itong volume na to na 300,000 metric tons just to fill the gap of the shortage hanggang bagong umabot nga mag-peak yung production po ng sugar milling po.
So just for the record, Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang malaman, gusto ko lang i-state na ang talagang sinasabi na shortage natin at kailangan nating iangkat ay 300,000 metric tons. Tama po ba?
Tama po.
Okay. Ang next question ko actually doon sa BOC. Nandito pa ba yung BOC? Okay. Di ba nagkaroon ng raid sa mga warehouses, nabasa ko sa newspaper may mga raid sa warehouses. Meron na ba tayong result sa investigation na to kung itong mga na raid na to sa warehouses na to, una, ito ba ay local or imported sugar? Pangalawa, ito ba ay hinord ba talaga o ano ba talaga ito?
Madam Chair, may I answer the question?
Yes, Deputy Commissioner De Buco, you're now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Una-una po sir, ang mga na-raid, meron pa kaming nakitang mga local sugar at meron ding imported. So during the operation sir, we were joined by representatives from the SRA and the DTI. So as far as hoarding is concerned, mandate po nila ng DTI at SRA yun. So sila po nagde-determine kung may hoarding po talaga. So as to the result po, still we are awaiting for the final report by the raiding teams po.
So wala pa, Hindi pa alam.
Hindi po talaga official. Because they are given 15 days to produce documents, Your Honor.
Kasi ang next question ko sana is, ito bang mga asukal na to na nakatago sa warehouse, ito ba ay maire-release para kahit papano partially maibsan yung shortage na sinasabi natin? Maire-release na ba agad-agad ito sa merkado ngayon or ihintayin pa or nakatago pa rin ito?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, Your Honor, sugar being perishable item, pwede po nating i-dispose yun. In fact, Madam Chair, this morning po, our commissioner was supposed to be here but he was called sa Malacanang for a meeting in order to talk about the disposal of those items.
So ibig sabihin na, sir, ilalabas na ito sa merkado, no, para makasagot sa shortage na sinasabi natin ngayon.
Yes po, Your Honor. Hindi ko lang po alam kung anong napag-usapan kanina nila doon sa may ano, but probably most likely yan po ang pinag-usapan na Your Honor.
Last questions. Meron pa ba kayong gagawin ng mga ganitong raid?
Yes po. In fact, as we speak, teams are still conducting mga ano po, mga actually we call it visitorial implementing our visitorial powers, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will just like to reserve my other questions in our next committee hearing. Thank you
so
Mr.
much,
Chair.
Congressman Lee, for that questions and queries, and thank you also Deputy Commissioner De Buyo for answering straight. Kasi yung mahalaga sa amin, yung diretso na lang ang sagot. So now we would like to call on Congressman J.J. Suarez for his interpellation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Kung oras na tayo, nag-aantay. My question will be directed to Yusek Sebastian, Serafica. Yusek Sebastian, former Yusek, how long have you been with the DA prior to your resignation?
As I said, Mr. Chair, I rejoined the Department of Agriculture in January 2021.
January 2021. Prior to joining the Department of Agriculture, what other government posts did you hold?
Before I left in 2008, Mr. Chair, I was the Executive Director of the Philippine Rice Research Institute. And I was also before that, from 1983, after graduation, I already joined the government, tobacco, and then going to rice. I rose from the rank, Mr. Chair.
Because after your resignation, social media was flooded with all sorts of praises about you and about how you conduct yourself, about your reputation as an individual and as a professional, correct?
I was more bashed, I think, Mr. Chair, than praise. There was a lot of bashing and innuendos of who I am, Mr. Chair, and I was really deeply saddened and still hurting, Mr. Chair.
So, well, now let's get to the details. Mr. Yusek Sebastian, sa tagal-tagal mo na sa DA at sa iba't ibang mga posisyon pang hinawakan mo, pagpasok ng July 15, binigyan ka ng kapangyarihan para maglingkod bilang Undersecretary for Operations. Tama?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Bilang Undersecretary for Operations, ano-ano ang mga ginampanan mong mga responsibilidad?
In addition, I was as the Undersecretary for Operation, I basically supervise the implementation of all the programs of the department.
Did you issue any memos? Did you issue any advisories? Did you sign any documents?
I signed, I basically ran the day-to-day operation of the Department of Agriculture, Mr. Chair. So I issued memorandum, appointments, as allowed by the July 15 memo, Mr. Chair. I performed most of those duties, Mr. Chair.
And you would often find yourself reporting to the executive department, specifically Malacanang, regarding the day-to-day activities of the Department of Agriculture, given that wala pa tayong Secretary of Agriculture, and our Secretary of Agriculture now is none other than President Bongbong Marcos, correct?
We have meetings with the President, Mr. Chair, that is scheduled every other week. And sometimes I was also called to report to Malacanang if there are issues. Numerous times, Mr.
Correct.
Chair.
August 1, Mr. Serafica, you explained that the skyrocketing prices of sugar was caused by the delayed implementation of sugar order number 3. Is this correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And as early as July 27, July 21, meron na kayong sugar briefer na dito nakasaad na talagang kinakailangan mag-import ng 300,000 metric tons. Correct?
That's from the DA, Your Honor.
This is from whom?
From the DA.
Okay, yeah. From the DA.
Yeah.
So dito, sinasabi nyo na kailangan.
Yeah.
August 5, an exchange of emails happened between USEC, Sebastian, Administrator Serafica. What were these emails all about?
Number one, this was the endorsement.
Can you talk a little bit louder to the mic?
This was the endorsement of the importation plan addressed to the DA because we were given a deadline to submit. So it was submitted in the afternoon of August 5
To the DA.
to the DA
And to who else?
and to the office of the executive secretary who requested for an advance copy.
Okay, so the copy was sent to the DA, received by, who received it?
It was through email, Your Honor.
Yeah, I know. You sent the email. Who received it? It was addressed to whom?
To the office of the DA secretary and copy furnished also Yusek Sebastian then.
So an email goes to Yusek Sebastian and another to Malacanang, correct?
It was a separate email, direct, not.
It was a different email.
Yes.
But what did the email to Yusek Sebastian contain, and what did the email to Malacanang contain?
The same.
The same content.
The same content.
And what was the content?
It was endorsing to the DA our importation plan.
And that was to import 300,000 metric tons.
Yes,
correct?
Your Honor.
Ano po ang naging sagot niyo doon, Yusek Sebastian?
Mr. Chair, the email of Administrator Serafica states that informs me that he was called to Malacanang yesterday, that means August 4, and was instructed by the President to prepare a sugar importation program as soon as possible.
Hold that thought.
And he attached the document.
So you're saying, Engineer Serafica, the President instructed you,
Yes, Your Honor.
President Bongbong Marcos instructed you to prepare an importation plan.
Yes, Your Honor. Importation program.
Okay. So ano pa lang yun? Prepare lang. He's not telling you to go ahead. He's not telling you that the importation or whatever, just a plan. Because I used to be a governor of Quezon province for 9 years. I tell my department heads to present all sorts of plans. But that plan is not the sole I don't depend on that plan alone when I come to the decisions that I make. So there are other factors that are involved. So you can continue. So to prepare that plan. Tapos, kinabukasan, ginawa mo yung plano, dinerecho mo kay Sebastian. Correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Yusek Sebastian, what did you do with that plan?
After the follow-up of Administrator Serafica in my office in the afternoon, Mr. Chair, I drafted the memo to the President, attaching the draft SO4 and also explaining in that memo to the President that SRA has come up with a importation program with the following allocation of 300,000 metric tons.
Okay, hold that thought. Engineer Serafica, you said you forwarded an email to Malacanang. Did Malacanang reply to your email?
No, Your Honor.
What about you? No.
No.
Walang reply. Sa'yo, Yusek Sebastian. Sa email mo.
No reply.
So wala
Except
ring reply.
acknowledgement, Mr. Chair.
Basta receive. Okay. So in other words, no reply. And then what happened next was you proceeded with a referendum wherein SRA officials headed by Yusek Sebastian voted in the affirmative to import 300,000 metric tons. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So in the absence of the approval of the chairman of SRA, our Secretary of Agriculture, President Bongbong Marcos, without his approval, you proceeded to having a referendum and thereby approving the importation of 300,000 metric tons. Correct? Correct, Your Honor. Correct?
Yes.
Tama. At hindi lang yon, hindi pati alam ng mga deputy ninyo na meron palang SR4. So, ang lumalabas, kayo-kayo lang ang may alam. Kasi ni yung mga deputy ninyo sa opisina ninyo, hindi alam na meron palang ganon. Tama ba ang pagkaintindi ko?
Yes, Your Honor.
Correct? Correct? Now, my question, your Madam Chairman and Chairwoman, saan kayo kumuha ng lakas ng loob? Una-una,
Mr. Chair, can I ask?
We'd like first to finish Congressman JJ Suarez before you
Una-una.
recognize.
may email na kayo, hindi kayo sinagot. Pangalawa, ang ginawa ninyo, sige, mag-referendum na lang tayo. Tignan natin yung boto ng mga members natin. Umuo sila. Kaso wag natin ipaalam sa management ng SRA. Kaso lang biglang lumabas, nagkaroon ng SRA 4 whereby you are to import, the country is to import 300,000 metric tons. So I find it absolutely out of this world, Madam Chair, na officials within the bureaucracy will have the gall to do this. Yun ang tanong. Yung 300,000 metric tons na yun, na asukal, anong presyo nun? Sino makakapagbigay ng sagot? What is the cost of those 300,000 metric tons?
Anybody from the, okay. Mr. Lobregat, are we right? Tama po ba?
I am Pablo Lobregat, President of the Philippine Millers Association. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I think I know your son too.
Oh, very good. I've heard your name mentioned many times. To answer this question on prices, when an importation is allowed or given, an order is given, it is allocated to whoever is qualified to import, right? And it's up to them to go out into the market and get the best price that they can, right? So there is not one price. If somebody anticipated, for example, 2 months before that there was going to be an importation because he had his ear on the ground and he felt that there was going to be a shortage, then he might have gotten a better price than if he were to wait until the order was given.
Ballpark, more or less.
Today, from what I understand, I asked and they said it's about $690 per ton of refined.
$609?
$90.
$90 for every ton.
For per ton of refined sugar.
Refined sugar. So more or less 600,000 metric tons would cost around
300.
300,000 metric tons would cost around.
I don't have a calculator. I mean,
Ma'am,
Yes, I'm doing it. How much is it? 6.9.
690.
$690.
$690.
So 56 times 600,000, 300,000.
It's 11 billion, tama ba?
11
it's-
billion.
Ah, okay. Before in the report, it was only 9 billion.
So
Like
in
I-
other words,
Mr. Chairman, it depends. If you bought that sugar, and this is why I will explain in my presentation why there was a need for sugar order number 3, and because of the delay of sugar number 3,
I'll get to that.
the
I'll get to
original
that.
the original
Yes,
prices were
We just
canceled.
have to answer first the query
I'll
of the
get to that.
honorable congressman
I'll
on
get to
on
that.
what is the amount of that 300,000 metric tons.
So
What is
in
the
other
value?
words, Madam Chair,
Yes.
ang laking
po.
halaga. So ito ulit ang tanong ko, Yusek Sebastian. Matagal ka na pong opisyal. alam mo kung ano ang magiging repercussions, consequences na anumang desisyon na gagawin mo. Ang hindi ko pa rin matanto sa isip ko, ipipirma mo pa yung presidente, hindi ka nga nakakuha ng approval sa kanya. So ang tanong ko, saan po kayo kumuha at humugot ng lakas ng loob para gawin yung ginawa ninyo? Because it seems, before you answer that question, that 300,000 metric tons was wrong. Because after your act, after you resigned, the president proceeded with consulting industry players, stakeholders, and other sugar planters, and then realized hindi pala 300,000 ang kailangan natin i-import, 150,000 lang pala. At hindi lang pala 150,000 ang kailangan natin ma-import, mapapababa pa natin yung presyo ng asukal. So ang tanong ko sa inyo, saan nyo nakuha ang lakas ng loob para gawin yon?
Can I answer now, Madam
Okay,
Chair?
Mr. Sebastian, you're now recognized, and I just hope you just answer it very briefly because we're running out of time, so we could entertain other interpolators. Yes.
Madam Chair, Congressman JJ,
You know.
as you have mentioned, my background is basically on the technical side, and the strength that the authority that I use is that memo on July 15, 2022, and considering the data that has been presented and analysis that had been presented, that the sugar supply is really very low, and there's an impending there's already a very high price of sugar, and the impending shortage of sugar in the coming months, and all data showed that the deficit, the required sugar supply shortage is even more than the 300,000 that is being proposed. And considering the urgency of the matter, which the President also recognized during our meetings, the President recognized that we need to do something on that sugar supply shortage.
Sorry, I just the congressman just wanted to know, saan nyo po nakuha ang lakas ng loob na ipirma ang Pangulo? We
No,
understand fully what you're saying. Paulit-ulit po tayo.
I did not sign for the President. I signed for the Secretary, Madam Chair.
But the secretary is the president.
Yes, Madam Chair, but under memo of July 15, I was given that delegation of authorities to sit ex officio as ex officio chair of the SRA
Madam Chair,
board,
you know,
Madam Chair.
Yes,
it's
okay.
obviously, there's something that's being hidden. Can I just get back to the deputy
Madam
administrator?
Chair.
I didn't get your name.
Attorney Tejeda, Your Honor.
Attorney
Tejeda.
Tejeda.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you mentioned earlier you had no clue, no idea, no notion of sugar order number 4.
No official knowledge, Your Honor.
No
because
official
we
knowledge.
heard it from some stakeholders who we interact regularly with.
So yun yung hindi ko rin ma-reconcile, Madam Chair. Sa isang bagay na napakahalaga, na napakalaki, na sobrang importante, na bilyong piso ang pinag-uusapan natin, ni mismo yung management ng SRA walang kamuang-muang na meron palang ilalabas na sugar order. Can you explain to me, Engineer Serafica, bakit hindi nila alam? Was it purposely on purpose to that the rest of management be kept out of the loop?
Actually, Your Honor, I answered this earlier. I was a victim of MC1, meaning
Lahat na tayo, biktima eh. Biktima ng MC1.
So,
Biktima ng...
At saka hindi naintindihan ng mga tao na MC1 at MC3. Memorandum circular po iyon
paano
sa
yung
mga
biktima ng
nakaupo.
mamamayan ng mataas na presyo ng asukal? Paano naman sila?
So there was a breach of trust within the office, Mr. Chair, and I did not want that this plan will go, they will get the plan before it gets to the president, Your Honor. That is only my reason.
No. I think that's where we all disagree. The process is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you will do a consultation with all the stakeholders, planters, millers, retailers, industry players, and then from there, you will analyze all the data that is in front of you. After you do your analysis, you will work as an administration, come up with the proper recommendation, form the board, and move from there. I think that's the right way to do it. Now, question, Madam Chair, before I wrap up dahil
Yes.
marami pa yata magtatanong. Doon sa ginawa ninyong board meeting para aprubahan yung SRA4, sino nag-approve ng agenda?
I submitted agenda to the Office of the Sugar Board, Your Honor.
Office of the
Sugar Board.
Sugar Board. Who approved it?
The Office of the Sugar Board.
No, who? No.
Who?
The office is not a person. I'm asking, who approved it?
Meaning the endorsement to the Sugar Board. I did, Your Honor.
The agenda. Who
Yes.
approved? You said you referred it to the Sugar Board.
The agenda.
The
of
agenda.
The referendum.
Who approved it?
The agenda, Your Honor.
Yes.
I did, Your Honor.
So you sent it to yourself?
No, what I'm trying to say is the agenda on the matter for referendum, I endorse it to the Sugar Board with a summary briefer.
Kasi, okay, Engineer Serafica, like, our two excellent chairperson of agriculture and good government, sila nag-approve ng agenda ng committee bago namin talakayan at pag-usapan dito. So, ang tanong ko sa inyo, nagkaroon ng board meeting ang SRA para aprubahan ang SR4, sino ang nag-approve ng agenda ng meeting?
What I did, Your Honor, was to transmit the agenda to the Office of the Sugar Board.
Congressman Bersaga, you may want to...
Yes. Who are the members of the Sugar Board?
Myself,
Oh,
the two board members, and the ex officio
Who's the
Chair.
chairman?
ex officio chairman is the DA secretary.
The president itself.
Okay.
With the president.
Did the chairman approve the agenda?
In this case, no.
No. The
That's
chairman did
exactly-
not approve the agenda. The chairman had no idea that the board was going to convene, because if he knew, he would have known what was on the agenda. Yes, Congressman Bersaga.
was there an actual convening of the Sugar Board?
No, Your Honor. It
Ah.
was by way of referendum.
Wala rin, hindi rin nag-convene.
Actually, there was none at all because it is actually the president of the country as acting ex officio of the SRA. So it is actually the chairman who should be calling for the convening of the board. So they all relate to all referendum and emails.
Precisely, Madam Chair. That's why you're the chairman of the Committee on Good Government.
So what
Because
is the agenda? Ano ba ang nasa agenda, Mr. Serafica?
Kasi Boss PD, if I may interrupt lang. Ako, ayoko naman sabihin na nag-ako sa ako or anything. Parang lumalabas kailan ang nag-usap eh. Kasi ni tao nyo, hindi alam eh. Alam nyo ba? Hindi nyo alam. Parang kayong dalawa lang yata dito eh. Ang nagkasundo na gagawin natin to, mamadaliin natin to, gagawa tayo ng importation plan. So that's where that is where my fear lies, Madam Chair. Because these are top officials of our bureaucracy. Buti na lang nakita ng presidente kagad. At buti na lang pinatigil ng presidente. Dahil kung hindi pinatigil ng presidente at pumasok yung 300,000 metric tons na yan, siguradong ang laki na naman ng tama sa mga magsasaka natin. Last question, Madam Chair, before I leave.
Okay. Since you waited for so long, your wish is granted.
Sa 35 years yung buhay SRA, Gumanda ba ang buhay ng magsasakang tubo?
Lots of challenges, Your Honor.
Yes or no? Gumanda ba ang buhay ng magsasakang tubo?
No.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Pupunta na ako sa session hall. Baka ako ng plenary team.
Madam Chair, very quick lang, Madam Chair, clarification lang.
Thank you so much. Hold on, Congressman Lee. We'd like to thank, of course, Congressman J.J. Suarez for a very, very brief questions, and it has been clear to us. Congressman Lee, you may now have the floor.
Very quick lang. Kasi kanina pinaklaro ko na, di ba, sabi nyo 300,000 metric tons yung kailangan. Narinig ko kay Kong Suarez, sinabi na Kong JJ na pwedeng ang babaan pa, and then narinig ko kay Yusek Leo na in fact mas mataas pa daw yung kailangan. The reason why I want it clear, Madam Chair, is kailangan alam natin lahat, no, kung ilan talaga yung kailangan, no? And I've quoted yung sa USDA na report also saying na 300,000 metric tons, no? Kasi para maiwasan natin yung mga nagkakaroon ng misdeclaration, yung naririnig nating dobleng paggamit ng mga importation permits, yung mga ganon, so that when we know na 300,000 lang talaga yung kailangan natin, nandun lahat tayo nakabantay na 300,000. So ang tanong ko ulit, for the record, ilan ba talaga, Yusek, ang kailangan natin, no, na ungkatin?
Can I answer, Madam Chair?
Yes, you are recognized, Mr. Sebastian.
Yeah, Madam
Then,
Chair.
Congressman Yulo, will you be
Yeah.
the next?
Just to give you some accounting, Mr. Chair, the total demand for raw sugar, Mr. Chair, is 1.994 million metric tons. That's for the demand. And the supply that we have is only, this is for 2022, the year 2022, Mr. Chair. And for the supply, the local supply, local production is only 1.782 million metric tons. So that means we have a deficit of 212,000 metric tons for raw sugar.
For the refined,
For the refined sugar, Madam Chair, the total demand is 1.272 million metric tons, and the supply is only 732,000 metric tons. So we have a deficit of 540,000 metric tons. With SO number 3, we are, the total arrival is already 186,000 metric tons, and the remaining stock as of August 7, Mr. Chair, is 35,000 metric tons. So that means we still have a deficit of 319,000 metric tons. And you add the raw sugar deficit of 68,000 metric tons, that will be about 3.8 something, 3.87 thousand metric tons, Mr. Chair. Now, that is the year-end deficit, Mr. Chair. But if you look at the running total within the year, because the available supply is not the same all the year, when you look at the raw sugar, Mr. Chair, we have almost zero production in July. We have some production in August, and then a little production in September, going up to October, Mr. Chair. So if you look at the actual deficit for raw sugar, it's about, between now and October, it's about 212,000 metric tons, Mr. Chair. So that is the real thing. When it comes to refined sugar, Mr. Chair, that's what we are saying, 319,000 metric tons up to December, Mr. Chair.
This morning, I read that two sugar miller in Negros have agreed on mag-mill ng earlier, no? In fact, this August magsisimula na sila instead of the normal October. Yun ba na-consider na yun, na production na yun?
Even if you consider the early milling, Mr. Chair, the deficit will still be big because if you look at the milling at this time, Mr. Chair, when it is very cloudy or rainy, the recovery, the sugar recovery is actually very low because it contains a lot of water. But if the weather is sunnier, then the yield will be higher. So
Okay.
even considering the earlier milling, still the deficit is very big, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you
Madam
so
Chair,
much.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Congressman Lee. We'd like to call on Congressman Yulo. Thank you so much for waiting, and it's now you have now the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman. Going back to Sugar Order number 3, Administrator Serapika, one of the whereas clause states, and I read into the records, SRA received instructions from the Department of Agriculture to temper the current level of high local prices. May we know for the record, who from the Department of Agriculture did you receive instructions?
May I have your question again, Your Honor?
In the whereas clause of Sugar Order number 3, it reads, SRA received instructions from the Department of Agriculture to temper the current level of high local sugar prices. So may we know for the record, from whom did you receive such instructions?
Well, from the DA Secretary then.
Now going back to Sugar Order number 3, we've been hearing about shortage and the like, especially on refined sugar. And then the allegation is that the said program was stymied because of the so-called temporary restraining order. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, for the record, would you confirm that there is still about 125 or 130,000 metric tons languishing in the warehouses right now?
Maybe the Deputy Administrator should answer that, Your Honor. So I'm not privy to the records
Madam
anymore.
Chair, can we recognize the Deputy Administrator?
Yes.
Sorry,
Attorney Tejeda, you're
Yes.
now recognized.
May I know the question again, Mr. Chair?
There were allegations of shortage, and one of the reasons for Sugar Order number 3 was supposedly the shortage of refined sugar. How true is it that there is about 120 plus thousand metric tons languishing in the bodegas right now, which is available for industrial users? Do you confirm that?
Yes, as of our monitoring as of August 14, there are actually 94,000 metric tons of refined sugar under SO3, which were already reclassified and ready for utilization, Mr. Chair.
In short, Madam Chair, is this ready to be released to the industrial users?
When we say they are already reclassified, they can already use it under SO3 for their products under SO3.
As such, it's their choice whether they want it released right now or later.
They are not precluded from planning their product, the use of their product, as long as they don't violate any provisions of SO3, namely that they cannot sell it in the local market.
Did you hear about that press release recently about 3 big soda companies claiming of a shortage of 450,000 metric tons? Did you come across that news article?
That news article, I'm not familiar, but I am privy to the fact that these 3 huge carbonated soft drinks companies have been communicating also with the Office of the Deputy Administrator, claiming that they have shortage indeed of their product or their supply, I mean.
For the record, Mr. Deputy Administrator, would you confirm that Pepsi Cola Products Philippines Incorporated still has 9,396 metric tons in its bodega?
If that's under SO3, Mr.
That's
Chair.
correct, under SO3.
Yes, they have a huge supply still in their bodegas.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Administrator. In short, Pepsi still has available almost 180,000 bags in their bodegas. Is that correct?
That would be correct, and as well as the other industrials that because their shipments comes in trans, that's why they're covered by respective clearances.
Okay, thank you. To the Administrator, what exactly was the word used? Plan or program?
Importation plan. Importation program.
So the instruction was for you to prepare an importation program or for you to prepare an importation plan?
May we request, okay, Mr. Serafica to answer, Engineer Serafica to answer that?
The instructions was to you to prepare an importation program.
Okay.
Program, hindi plan. So,
Program.
program. Okay.
Now going back to SO4, in SO3, by the way, you had a section for performance band. Is that correct? Mr. Administrator Serafica?
I do not have a copy of SO3, Your Honor.
SO3.
SO3.
I'll give you a copy right now. So that to my
Comsec, can you give,
Baka si Deputy Administrator, you may be familiar with SO3. Baka you could answer the query of the Honorable Yulo.
I have my copy, Your Honor.
wala siyang copy.
you don't know that there is a performance or security band or a cash band once you are an accredited importer?
Yes, there is a performance band,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
And
So
would
that
you
should be the answer. Yes.
and would you agree that the function of the performance band is to ensure faithful compliance to the provisions of the sugar order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the performance band also present in SO4?
Your Honor.
May you, for the record, can you please tell the Honorable Committee why the performance band was deleted from sugar order number 4?
It was a draft program subject to approval of the members of the board. And we recommend that to take away the performance band so it will not be an additional cost to qualified importers, Your Honor.
Isn't that to the disadvantage of the government and to the advantage of the importers?
It will be a policy on the matter of the sugar board to make necessary actions on these importers should they violate any importation policies.
So who had the original idea of deleting the performance band?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Who came out with the idea of deleting the performance band?
I did, Your Honor.
Let me go to the reclassification of sugar from Class C to Class B. Is that present in sugar order number 3?
To expedite the release of the reclassification, our draft there was to facilitate and fast track the release that the board will authorize the administrator subject to the weekly report to the chair and to the sugar board.
So the person to reclassify sugar under SO3 is the sugar board. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Under sugar order number 4, it was delegated to the administrator himself. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, yeah, did you ever consult any of the lawyers from SRA whether this is allowed under the law?
As I said, Your Honor, there was that breach of trust in the office. And I did not have the comfort of asking their legal opinion on the matter.
I think this is a big problem because what we're having is a delegated authority. And I don't think you can delegate it further to yourself. So maybe that would have been solved or resolved if you had asked the questions from your legal department. That will be all for.
Thank you so much.
you.
It's just timing that you already exceeded on your time. But it was a very, very good questions and query. It shed lights to all sa lahat po ng mga nag-iisip at sa mga nanonood sa atin. So I'd like to call on Congresswoman Luistro thank you so much, ma'am, for waiting. You are now duly recognized.
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, and of course to our guests from the DA and the SRA and the BOC. It's actually worth waiting because most of my questions have been answered already during my colleagues' interpellations. This is more of a manifestation, Madam Chair. I wish, of course, to incorporate, if possible, in our committee report that we give emphasis to the real mandate to the SRA. That is the promotion of sugar planters' co-efficiency. Perhaps if we invite the attention of the SRA to their real mandate, we will be able to do away with the need for importation. And second, Mr. Serafica mentioned about the budget for research and consultation for 2021. It is 155 million, if I am correct.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. I want to give emphasis to the significance of the data that we are gathering. And this leads me to the question, how are we certain that the data we are gathering are really accurate? Because these are very important as they provide basis on whether or not we need to import or otherwise.
May I answer that, Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Serafica, you are recognized.
On a weekly basis, Your Honor, all the sugar mills and the refineries, they submit on a weekly basis their production data on a weekly basis. And then the SRA consolidates all this data before uploading them to the website. So this is a real data from the refiners and the millers. And before the end of the crop year, should there be any discrepancies, that will be corrected, Your Honor.
During the interpellation of Congressman Marcoleta, you mentioned about the withdrawal from the sugar mills. And then now you're mentioning about the data from the producers and millers. It appears that we've been hearing a lot of data and figures about the supply and demand. My only concern is I hope we can come up with a more tedious process of data gathering so we can intelligently arrive on the data of supply and demand, which will definitely guide us on our decision whether to pursue with the importation or otherwise. That is all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Luistro. I'd like to give space to our colleague, Congressman P.D. Barzaga. Then I'll just have a few questions for BOC. Then we will be coming up for adjournment.
Well, we want to clarify something because it seems that everybody is confused. Sugar order number 4 was issued because according to SRA, particularly the members of the board, what is needed is 300,000 metric tons of sugar. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
What about you, Sec Sebastian?
That is correct,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
And as a matter of fact, during our hearing today, you are still insisting that the volume to be imported should be 300,000 metric tons or even more.
Only 300,000
Or
metric tons.
300,000 metric tons. However, the secretary, who happens to be the president, after consulting with the stakeholders, has decided that the importation should only be 150,000 tons. Do you want to make the impression before us that the secretary was wrong and was receiving the wrong data coming from all other persons?
Your Honor. No.
Francis,
Your Honor, what I'm trying to say, the facts of the 300,000 metric tons is based on the confirmed data submitted by the stakeholders in that after that July 29 stakeholders meeting.
do you
Your
want to create the impression before the public and before us that the Secretary of Agriculture was not correct or was acting under the wrong premise na 150 lamang ang kailangan?
I am not insinuating that, Your Honor.
But you are insisting right now, 300,000. Next question. Of course, you are insisting or your position na tama yung 300. Is it correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was your resignation voluntarily or were you pressured to resign?
It was my own voluntary decision, Your Honor.
If it is your voluntary decision, bakit hindi mo pinaglaban sa ating Pangulo na kinakailangan natin ay 300,000 metric tons, not 150,000, kaya ako ay hindi magre-resign at paglalaban ko yan.
I felt during that time, Your Honor, I breached his trust and confidence on me.
So in other words, you felt that the President did not have trust and confidence to you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And perhaps the President did not have trust and confidence with you because the President did not believe that 300,000 metric tons would be necessary for importation.
I cannot read his mind, Your Honor.
You cannot read his mind. But you did not ask what is in his mind. Well, another thing, according to you, you were able to violate the normal procedures because there was already a loss of trust insofar as your leadership in SRA is concerned.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. At ang sabi mo nga, merong nag-assume na OIC.
Yes, Your Honor.
And who was that OIC?
Deputy Administrator Ignacio Santillana, Your Honor.
Ignacio.
Santillana.
And what is his position right now?
Deputy Administrator for Research, Development, and Extension.
Did you tell to him that under the existing memorandums coming from the President, he is guilty of usurpation of pure authority, considering that you consider yourself as a holdover officer?
I did not ask him that, and we never met since that time, Your Honor.
No, but you can text him. You are part of the office. Eh, wala ka namang ginawa. Pagkatapos, ang ginawa mo lamang, oy, hindi na namin kayo sasama sapagkat ayaw niyo man akong kilalanin. But you did that insist on your right.
I knew my position then, Your Honor. But
Okay, so sa madaling sabi, kung may loss of trust na sa iyo, ang pakiramdam mo, you can disregard the rules and the procedures.
that was not my intention, Your Honor.
Oh, but you disregarded.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yun lang nililinaw naman natin. So, for the next scheduled hearing, I would be requesting Attorney Tihada.
Pwede magtanong.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Congressman P.D. Barzaga. Now let's call on, of course, our chairman of the Ways and Means, Congressman Joey Salceda.
Saan galing yung asukal? Abas. Oo. Saan galing? Oo. Thailand. Magkano yung taripa niyan?
Hold on. May we request them to, do you have a mic? Maybe ask the ComSec to bring them a mic so they could be heard by everybody. And mention your name again. So,
He's
sorry,
the most
ah.
important man in customs.
oh,
Ayaw mo? Siya na lang? Sige, ikaw na lang.
Yung sa Thailand, sir, that we saw in the raids that we did, no?
Opo.
So far, sa mga 3 warehouses. But they numbered just around mga 150 to mga 150 bags.
May nakalagay na presyo, wala.
Wala, sir, eh. Wala.
Magkano ba dapat ang tarifa nun?
Magkano tarifa ng 40?
Ito naman, matik yan, atiga yan, di zero.
Thailand.
Ay, nako.
Kinakabahan kami sa sir, zero, sir.
So, paano magkakaroon ng smuggling kung wala naman taripa?
Yung sir, out of
May 5% ba?
hindi, sir, pag ba mag-smuggle sila, may 5%.
May 5% pag
yes, sir.
smuggle?
Hindi, sir. Yan yung sir, yan yung tariff under sa Atiga.
Under Atiga?
Yes, sir. Yung
Is
sir,
under Atiga, is it 5 or 0?
2017 to eh. Sir, baka yung 2022 mo na-change na, baka 0. But for 2017 kasi 5.
It's,
excuse me, can you use, yeah?
Sir, we're looking at the 2017 AHTN. It's still 5%. But we'll check, sir, the 2022 AHTN. If the Atiga rate has been
kung
changed from 5%
MFN,
to 0%.
ang pinanggalingan, magkano?
50 per quota, sir, 50%, and then out quota is 65, so 50-65.
So, ang pagiging smuggling niyan, so hindi siya smuggle.
Wala lang siyang permiso sa SRA. Ano?
Sir,
So,
sa warehouses that ni-raid namin, the deputy administrator of SRA was there, and he said that by the violation might be kasi ano lang siya if under ISO 3 dapat sa mga industrial users na siya. So these were found
pare-pares mga asukal yan. Ano ba?
nakita sila
Ano
sir, sa
kinaibahan nun?
nakita
Yung isa
sila sa
may
traders.
triangle, yung isa may bilog, yung ganon.
Yes sir, one
Ano ba
violation
meron?
what violation could
Kinaibahan ng
be
mga yan.
one violation
Ano
could
ba
be-
ABCDE? Hindi ko maintindihan.
one violation could be it was purchased from an industrial user.
Oh, the only violation I can see is that we are not permitted by SRA. Because in this country, the only QR is determined by SRA. Tama ba?
Yes sir.
So that's the only violation. So may violation ba o wala?
So chinek namin sa SRA sir, walang walang
Kasi kung anik-anik na pinag-uusapan nyo eh. Eh simple lang naman, binigyan ba nila ng QR o hindi?
yung mga items that tiningnan namin sir, wala sir.
Walang, so
import permit.
akala ko ba may 03 pa to?
Yung sa Subic yun. Meron.
Yung sa Subic, sir, there is a clearance to that. We already
Oh,
certified.
meron. So hindi yan smuggled.
Oh. In Pampanga, sir, that was a summer local. The imported ones were still verifying because as per our initial record, they are not an industrial
Tanggalin
Yes, sir.
nyo na nga yung mga ABCD na yan. Ano ka? Saan ka? Sa
SRA, sir.
SRA?
Yes, sir.
Meron pa bang ano? May silbi pa ba yung mga ABCD na yan?
It's in our charter,
Bakit?
Your Honor.
Magkakaiba mga ano yan?
It's only for the Kedaning ratio, Your Honor.
Ano yan? 15% broken? 10% broken? Ano ba yan?
No, sir. It would represent the supply that we want.
Di ba
to-
fungible yan?
No, sir. It's only
I don't
the
know why
Kedaning-
fungible products should be
Yeah.
classified.
Yes, sir. It's Kedaning only, Your Honor.
Do you consider, sir, that these products are fungible anyway? You have to keep making all this, discretionary classification? For what? For what purpose do you maintain those things?
Well,
Because it's a law
that's one.
or it's a treaty?
I think it's a law.
I think it's a treaty, sir. Anyway, and then,
For purposes of the stakeholders, kedaning is important at this point for their production. So let's say, for example, if the SRA policy for this crop year will be all domestic, meaning all kedans will be B sugar. So everybody will be a B kedan holder. Each farmer will have a kedan issued to his name.
a farmer, can you
Or a
define
mills.
farmer? Planter, farmer,
Planter.
refiner, miller.
A planter is, he brings.
So you're talking about the farmer here is a planter,
Yes po.
like you. Who is the representative of the planters here? Somebody said he is a planter. Okay. You are, sir.
Raymond Montinola.
Yeah, Montinola. So you're a planter.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I am a planter.
So are you getting the fair returns from all this, from the sugar industry? Is
It
it still?
depends, as the administrator have explained, it depends on the supply and demand situation.
Do you know that your cost is cheaper than Thailand and in India?
Our cost of production.
Yes, sir. Do you know that your cost of production is cheaper than Thailand and India?
We do not. As of now, I do not.
Talaga?
Yeah. We thought we are much more expensive than Thailand and
Oh,
India.
it's your milling that's very expensive, triple than India. Sir, I have the data.
So you mean to
I will
say,
not- Yes, sir. I'm
Yes.
telling you, it came from a Baines report. Would you like me to get the report?
May we request you could probably join us now kasi punong-puno kami, Chairman,
Sorry,
kanina.
can I,
Sorry,
no, I'm
ah.
just, ma'am, naano ko lang kasi na, may balik natin sa tama na hindi man to smuggling, hindi naman to Sir, yeah, I can give you the study. No, I'd rather sit down under the leadership. Hindi sa ayaw ko sa iyo, ha. Dito na lang sa Committee on Agriculture, because I think sugar has a future. I can tell you that there are new product lines that essentially. The last question ko na, sir, bakit hindi na lang pinag-import ng high fructose ang mga Coke?
Well, unang-una po,
12 pesos.
yes, yung taxes nila po. At saka they have already calibrated their plants using refined sugar. And they will have to spend.
So may calibration pala yan.
Yes po. They have to make adjustments to their machineries, and that is expensive.
Anyway, Mr. Chair, I don't know, at a certain point, I think we have to file a resolution looking into the viability of the sugar industry of the Philippines. So we will understand where this whole controversy, what is the total context with which. So para naman we are affirmative in our approach in Congress, in that we are a positive input. Hindi yung parang asip ginigisa namin kayo or something, but we'd rather be here to help you, especially modernizing our milling industry. Anyway, thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. And I agree with that, to modernizing the industry, the milling industry, because that is also the goal of the president. Okay. So thank you so much, Congressman Joey Salceda. Now let's go on with Congressman, we have Yoyet Ferrer. Ferrer is on Zoom. She would like to ask something. Kong Ferrer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to follow up the question of Congressman Yulo about the performance bond. I did not hear the answer of Mr. Serafica as to why this was deleted in Sugar Order number 4. Can you repeat that part po?
Mr. Serafica, you are recognized again for the query of Congresswoman Ferrer.
I said the performance bond was not incorporated in SO4.
Why? Why, Madam Chair, why?
To make it a lesser cost for the importers, Your Honor.
But isn't this to protect the government also in case there is a problem?
SRA can always go after these violators of the sugar order, Your Honor.
With regards to Sugar Order number 4, this was not authorized by the Secretary of Agriculture, who happens to be our president also. So again, I would like to follow up the question of my colleagues as to why you had the courage to issue the sugar order despite the lack of authority from the Secretary of Agriculture and the President of the Philippines.
Engineer Serafica, would you like to answer that?
I had the impression, Madam Chair, that everything was in order, considering the urgency of the matter.
When you say urgency, isn't it true that we still have 127,000 metric tons in the bodegas from Sugar Order number 3, or the exact figure is around that much? So why was the urgency? How urgent was it that you could not even wait for the president to give the instructions or give the go signal?
It was so urgent, Your Honor, that we will be running out of sugar by the end of August. And all the sugar under SO3 is limited only to the industrial companies. That cannot be sold or transferred to the domestic market. That will be for their exclusive use on their products, Your Honor.
So when you say urgency, you could not even wait for the approval of Malacanang or from the president?
I was under the impression that everything is ready to go, Your Honor.
What gave you that impression, Mr. Serafica?
I consulted the Undersecretary Sebastian on this matter, and he likewise gave the instructions to proceed and endorse the matter to the Sugar Board for referendum.
As my colleagues said, parang kayo, sabi yata ni Congressman Suarez na parang kayo-kayo lang yata ang nag-decide noon dahil hindi naman napirmahan ng other directors or what you call them, yung mga tao under sa inyo po who are usually signing this.
All the members of the Sugar Board, Your Honor, signed. Myself, the two board members, Attorney Beltran and board member, former board member Valderrama, Your Honor.
So it seems that all of you signed without the authority or the approval of the President. Yun lang po, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would like to ask questions again sa susunod po na hearing.
Dokumento lang.
Okay, thank you so much, Congresswoman Yoyet Ferrer. I would like to recognize Congressman P.D. Barsaga for another request.
No, I will just be requesting the submission of the documents which I consider would be necessary in order that we can thoroughly analyze the issues subject matter of our investigation. So to Attorney Tihida, can you provide this committee a listing of all the corporations for which an import permit or license was issued pursuant to Sugar Order number 3?
Yes, Your Honor. We will do that, Your Honor.
Second question. Can you also provide the listing of the warehouses where the sugar under Sugar Order number 3 will be stocked?
We can provide as well those who already stuck there, Your Honor.
And you could also explain during the next hearing why there is a period not coming May, but there is no limitation as to the end.
As far as SO3 is concerned, I shall explain, Your Honor, as far as I can explain.
And finally, to the Bureau of Customs, is it a correct appreciation that any imported sugar should pass the Bureau of Customs? Yes. And could you please give us, based on your data, ano-ano ba yung imported sugar under Sugar Order number 3 na dumaan sa customs? Together with the name of the importer, together with the name of the broker, together with all the permits and clearances, including the payments, including the approval of the sugar SRA. Di ba? Pinapipirma nila. Pinapipirma nyo. Pag wala silang signature, wala. Hindi nyo i-release. Together with the location of the warehouses. What else? And of course, the inventory right now, if you have none. Attorney Tihada, yung inventory, may kopya kayo?
On SO3, yes, Ron.
Oh, you can monitor kung gaano karami na ang nasa merkado at kung gaano karami pa ang naka-stock sa kanila.
We can monitor not in the markets, but their utilization, Mr. Chair.
Here, utilization.
Yes, we can. We have that at present. We'll just submit it.
Okay. Please submit us those documents ahead of our hearing next time.
We will do that, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Congressman P.D. Barzaga. Then I'd like to acknowledge Congressman Tony Petalbano for another query.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Just as a simple follow-up, no, there was no question being asked with the Bureau of Customs. If I may, I'd like to know lang how many cases have you filed with the existing apprehensions for importation for sugar? And how many have you won? And what are the pending cases? And if you could submit to this committee, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sir, we don't have the exact figure now, but we'll submit this data, sir, during the next committee hearing.
To your recollection, kahit isa ba, meron na ba kayong napakulong?
Sa bigas, meron.
Sugar, muna tayo. Sa bigas, pagkakaroon tayo ng meeting yan with the Department of Agriculture. But kahit sa bigas, siguro. Pero sa sugar, meron na ba kayong napakulong? na cases.
Sir, to the best of our
Syndicates.
recollection, sir, most of the cases are pending with the trial courts as well as the Department of Justice. But we have to double check with our legal service if decisions have already been issued for these criminal cases that we filed.
Right, this is important because the core of the matter, maybe these same syndicates are still working with the offices that are involved, no? And so we would like to ask, together with Congressman P.D. Barzaga, is asking that if you give us the pertinent cases that are pending with the Bureau of Customs regarding all this, of course, no, illegal sugar that were imported and you've confiscated. I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Congressman Tony Talbana. Then you have to submit. Okay. I just have several questions for the BOC para at least, you know, Laman, we are here to, of course, to lay down everything. So we're here to lay down everything. Mr. De Buco, you understand that BOC's policy should be to protect, no, and enhance government revenues. Sa inyo kami umaasa, no, para mas lalo na sa higit na may mga pandemyang ganito. Institute for fair and transparent customs and tariff management that will efficiently facilitate international trade, prevent and curtail any form of customs fraud and illegal acts, and modernize customs and tariff administration under the CMTA. Is it correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. In line with the SO number 3 or SO number 4, no? Dahil talaga namang kansiladong SO number 4, ang SRA ba ay nanghingi sa inyo ng, pag may mga importation ba ganito, nagko-coordinate sila sa inyo?
Yes po. Actually, before arrival, we ask for them the list of mga importations that have clearance with them.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
So meron kayong listahan ng mga previous importers nila?
Yes po.
Okay. Can you bring that on the next meeting?
Yes po.
All right. Okay, yung mga dokumento kayo din na nagpo-proseso? Okay, ang customs din. Okay. So, kung meron mga ganito pang mga problema sa SRA, sila ba ay talagang dumudulog sa inyo o nagbi-meeting kayo kasama ng kanilang mga importers o kayo lamang?
Well, actually, meron kaming memorandum of understanding with SRA na dati nang nagawa. And we are in close coordination po, ma'am, with the SRA. Actually, former Administrator Serafica, we regularly text each other po.
Okay. There's a question coming from Congressman P.D. Barzaga.
Not a question. Additional document, could you furnish us a copy of that memorandum of understanding between you and SRA? And secondly, when you presented the documents to us regarding importation, could you indicate what was the port of entry?
Yes,
Manila, Subic, or any other port in the Philippines?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. The
Okay.
importer,
Yes.
and the consignee, plus the broker.
Yes po.
And the Bureau of Customs signatory.
Yes, they will be presenting those.
And also, are you, okay, thank you so much, Congressman PD. Are you aware of any incident in the BOC that caused illegal importation nung panahon, ilang taon na po kayo sa Bureau?
Ako po, 20 na po.
20? Kayo po, sir?
Almost 5 years.
Okay, so meron bang mga insidente na nakakaroon ng problema sa importation ng sugar? O ngayon lamang?
There were attempts before of smuggling. In fact,
Okay.
some are using the economic zones.
Okay, can you give it to us also? When you submit your,
Previous.
oh yes, previous lang, just to check
Yes.
also. Can you, considering SO number 3, can you propose any measures yung sa mga kaninang mga narinig nyo before we adjourn para at least medyo maganda naman yung pag-aantay nyo sa amin, no? Can you propose any measures na gusto nyo isabatas pa namin para makatulong kami sa inyo?
Yes, actually yung latest na recommendation ni Chairman Salceda, ma'am, doon sa kung pwede yung mga industrial users na lang ipagamit sa kanila yung mga fructose para hindi na kummingle.
Oo.
Ang kumingling kasi ang isa sa mga mahirap talaga ay
Kasi mine is to separate eh. I
Yes.
have a recommendation to separate. So sa inyo, hindi okay din sa inyo yun?
Opo, ma'am.
Okay, so
To
by
avoid
next...
the kumingling po.
Okay, comingling. So, ganun din kasi yung aking pinopropose na bill, oh, na batas para magkaroon tayo talaga ng identification and all para hindi ma-avoid. Okay. So, sa ating pong lahat na nandito ngayon, I'd like to very last na po ito. We have Chairman Mark Enverga to...
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. Just brief clarification lang. SRA, your monitoring is limited only to importations. Baka you can enlighten us dun sa system ninyo with regards to monitoring.
No, sir. We have regular monitoring even without importation, both in the mill, withdrawals, and our traders. They submit also regularly traders' activities, and we monitor the movement of sugar if it is raw, and refined also through the sugar monitoring system or SMS of the regulation department.
So, attorney, even if it's in the trader's hands already, medyo namamonitor pa natin yun.
Yes, sir. Because if they move the sugar, they need to secure shipping permits from SRA. Also, they must report under the pain of penalty their traders' activity report on a semi-annual basis.
Thank you for that. But how do you work with DTI? Is there a mechanism ba between you? Kasi ASEC, baka we could invite you here. Baka you could just also help us out. How do you coordinate with SRA? Para maintindihan lang po namin.
With SRA, sir, we don't have very active collaboration with them, but with the Department of Agriculture, we do. With respect to the monitoring, for instance, of prices.
So even for sugar, ma'am, it goes straight to DA. Wala po ng SRA. Wouldn't it complement better if you had any relationship with SRA as far as monitoring also?
Because under the Price Act, it's the Department of Agriculture, which is the implementing agency. So it is under the DA where sugar is monitored. So that's why as the other implementing agency, DTI, DOH, the DENR, dun po kami nagko-coordinate under the Price Act.
So Attorney Tejeda,
Sir.
nare-relay po naman lahat sa inyo.
Yes, sir. We are active in the Bantay Presyo Task Force, where we also work with the DTI. And in fact, as far as SO3 is concerned, this matter of SO3 was exhaustively discussed with the DTI and the NEDA before the Sugar Board came up with SO3.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that I could get recommendations from the Department of Trade and Industry, the DA, the stakeholders, how we could also improve our coordination amongst each other so we can monitor. Kasi ang hirap wala makasagot nung mga tanong na may shortage ba? Hindi, nasa warehouse, sasabihin ng iba. So, I hope that we could set a mechanism wherein we could easily pinpoint if there is such a shortage of sugar o wala. So anyway, we'll depend on your inputs on that. And then lastly, Mr. Lobregat, on the side of the millers, is there any recommendations, or at least you could brief us on your end on how you think how the sugar spike has happened or affected us?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the little time we have left. I've been here since 7 o'clock this morning. I have a very short presentation, which I think would have answered a lot of questions that you have today. Some are very simple. It's really out in the open, right? So I don't know if you have the slides and the sorry. I don't know if you have the slides for my presentation.
May we ask the ComSec if but Mr. Lobregat, baka briefly you could run through the presentation.
Okay, the slides are important for everybody to understand. In fact, I've taken the liberty of, for example, when I present my facts, I do not distinguish anymore between raw and refined, right? It's, that's the first one. Can we have the first slide? Next. Okay, this is the first slide. So let me go very briefly. Okay, this chart shows sugar production for the last 25 years. Our country has been self-sufficient with sugar except for a few occasional crop years that were affected by extreme weather events. At the turn of the century, year 2000, production improved to the introduction of new cane varieties developed by Philsurin, a private research arm of the sugar industry. As you know, sugar production is sensitive to extreme weather conditions, also known as climate change. This was the primary reason for the drop in production for the current crop. Tremendous rainfall, lower radiation equal less sugar. For the crop year 21-22, our production was about 1.8 million tons, which is the lowest record in the country for the last 22 years. Before the year 2000, there were years that were lower, but you can see that the production of 2022 is much lower than the previous year, right? Ever since I can remember, sugar production always exceeded local demand. In fact, the Philippines was a reliable exporter of for sugar for many decades. But in the year 2014, 2015, it started to show that production could not keep up with our population. Next slide, please. Here you see the red line is the demand, the green line is production. So the further years back, you can see that the green has always been above the red. But in 2015, it evened out, and the next succeeding years, there has always been a need to import, where the red line is higher than the green. Look at the green line for 2022, right? There's a huge gap between production and demand, right? Next slide, please. Sugar consumption. Our sugar consumption in the year 2000 was, I can't really tell you the figure, but it's that low. And then it went up. If you see that dip, that is when high fructose corn sugar started to come in. And to protect the sugar industry, the excise tax for HFCS was doubled over what it was for sugar, right? HFCS is a very unhealthy product for your liver. You can read about it, but I'm not gonna send. Anyway, in the year 2000, there were 75 million Filipinos. In year 22, we are estimated at 110 million. That's an increase of 47%. The difficulty in achieving optimum efficiency of a plantation crop like sugarcane started to become obvious. Next slide, please. This thin red line that you see is the ideal amount of sugar that should be around at the end of the crop, every August 31st. The ideal level is between 400,000 to 500,000 tons. As you can see, at the end of 2021, we had about 462,000. In the year, at the start of the year of last year, it was predicted that the crop was going to have a supply of a total of 2.56 million tons. This was adding the estimated 2.99 million plus the 460 two that you see in the graph as the carryover. Next slide, please. This shows you what happened in crop year 21-22. Okay. The orange line is the 5-year average. The blue line is what happened last year. And you can see that the blue line started to go up in the beginning, but Typhoon Odette hit, right? And after the Typhoon Odette hit, it tried to recover, but it never really caught up. And production slowly fell and finished much earlier. The following events started to change the picture. Just as sugar refineries were starting operations, Typhoon Odette hit the country in December 16, 2021. Harvesting, milling, and refining in most parts of Negros was brought to a halt. There was extensive crop damage and flooding in some sugar areas. Mills and refineries also suffered, some more than others. It did not help that La Niña continued unabated in the succeeding months after Odette. And quite frankly, La Niña is still around. It took several weeks for some milling operations to resume, while other mills were able to continue intermittently and at a very slow pace. In time, it was assessed that the supply of refined sugar was dropping, and to ensure its availability, Sugar Order Number 3 was issued on February 2, allowing the importation of 200,000 metric tons of refined grade. However, cases were filed in Negros to declare SO3 null and void, which is a normal case by planters. They are allergic to importations because they have the impression that it will always bring down prices, right? This delayed the imported sugar entry by 3 months. Next slide, please. Here I prepared a slide to show how prices reacted. At the beginning of the year, 53 pesos was the price of refined, 45 was raw. Then Odette hit in December. Sugar order, even before Sugar Order 3 was issued, you can see that the price of refined was already going up. Why? Because 3 refineries were not producing, right? Raw started to go up not as fast as refined because raw was still coming out, but refined was suffering because of the damaged refineries. And this is why the Sugar Order Number 3 specifically put refined sugar for industrials that were already panicking, right? By the time Sugar Order Number 3 arrived in late May and June, the price graph you can see is already up. Now, I've been ad-libbing, but anyway, you have my report. The uncertainty of SO3's imported sugar arrival led industrial users to buy aggressively whatever domestic sugar was available. A perfect storm was upon us, right? These were things beyond our control. By the end of May, it was obvious that the production for 21-22 was going to miss its target by a huge margin. It did not help that a government in transition also, if you want to call it a temporary paralysis, happened after election. Something like this happened in SRA. Some parties felt that they were in charge, while others said no. And until it was resolved at the end of June, nobody was moving. Nobody wanted to sign anything, right? Sugar stakeholders were again consulted after this for Sugar Order Number 4, but that came a little too late, right? It is estimated, next slide please. We go back to ending inventories. Look at the ending inventory of August of this year. it is way below that red line. And if you wanted an explanation, a clearer, I cannot provide a clearer explanation, okay, to show that how much is needed just to get to that buffer stock, right? And it's not only, it's only going to get bigger. It is estimated by the SRA that by the end of August 2022, the remaining sugar in the country will be 140,000 metric tons, way below the ideal thin red line that would have kept the market calm. This also means that there will be insignificant inventories of sugar until the harvest of the new crop comes online. In closing, these are events that led us to where we are today, only to be reminded that just as water seeks the lowest level, you cannot go against the law of supply and demand. Hoarding and smuggling are symptoms, not causes of a supply deficit, right? These events of 21-22 are but a big warning, and we must prepare a strategy to attain food self-sufficiency, because food might not just be available from our regular supply chains. This is a very serious matter. I'm surprised that we spent half a day talking about the legalities of whether a sugar order was legal or not. It was well within the president's prerogative to cancel it. He might have had a different set of information. I don't know who provided.
Mr. Lobregat, may I say
Yes.
something? Because you're in the good government public accountability.
Yes.
And we are on the next phase of it, we have the agriculture chairman will be discussing it. So we are actually on the phase that we just wanted to prove something, that something went wrong with that SO4. I hope you
Which
understand.
I
We already did that, Mr. Lobregat, the first briefing po. And we appreciate very much. I hope, because we get insulted when you say that. You don't understand that we have a half day of discussing the prerogative of the president. I hope you understand where we're coming from. We're
I
just doing
understand.
our job.
I beg your pardon, Mrs. Chairman. Okay.
Sorry.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's accepted.
Thank you. Lastly, if people want to get any information, the SRA publishes this weekly. And today, in this last one, you can see what is the remaining sugar there is and where it is. I'm surprised that the SRA has not furnished you a copy of this. Yeah.
We actually have all of those coming from, we had a briefer to all.
This is a sugar production bulletin.
Okay, I don't think we have that. So I think we do need to get a
Anyway,
copy.
we will be having
I think it's
another
available
meeting.
online. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it?
We will furnish you, sir, if you want.
Yes, please, attorney. Thank you. Just a follow-up question, Mr. Lobregat.
Yes.
Where would you attribute the spike in demand coming from? Industry or household? Both?
Demand has been slowly going up. I would say it's about 2.4.
Is it industry driven, the demand? Or?
I would say today half is industrial use and half is stable use. I mean, like restaurants and household.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lobregat. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a follow-up in connection to what our chairwoman has said. The Public Good Governance Committee is the Blue Ribbon Committee of the House of Representatives, and therefore we investigated this case of SRO number 4, motu proprio, because we want to see if there's malfeasance involved, and that if there are officials that are involved in any corrupt activities, knowing that the president has stopped this for a certain reason, then we need to investigate, and this is a powers of Congress in this committee itself. It just so happens that it is a joint committee between the chair for agriculture and, of course, our public good governance. So again, we do need to investigate this. We need to go forward. And then I would like to ask as a follow-up, all the departments here, including our good friend here, Mr. Pablo Lubregat from the Philippine Sugar Millers Association, if you know of all of your pending cases that are lodged in your department, especially those blacklisted importers, we'd appreciate, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, for you to please present to this committee the list of those you have already blacklisted, knowing that maybe in some cases, these certain traders have changed their names, but they have the same directors. So if they can actually submit those papers to us, we would like that from the BOC, the Department of Agriculture, even DTI. You have blacklisted companies that usually have pending cases, or certain companies that should not be dealing with specifically for SRA. Madam Chair, please submit.
Thank you so much, Congressman Tony Pet Albano. Before we end, and of course, I'd like to acknowledge the attendance of the following members of the House. They were here a while ago. It is proper for me to thank them for joining us. Congressman Joseph Gilbert Villago, Congressman Joey Salceda, Congressman Representative Velasco, and via Zoom we have Representative Arnold Teves, Jose Pajernos, Congressman Adrian Amatong, Congressman Eddie Bong Plaza, Congressman Ralph Tulfo, Congressman Edward Mazeda, and of course, I'd like to stand corrected for the name, Congressman Jose Pajernos. Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, would you like to add some more?
Yes, housekeeping matter, Madam Chair. May I include the Honorable Eskimo Estrella as being present in our previous meeting, August 15. August 15.
August 15, for
Wala po
correction.
sa minutes, so may I request that he be added as he attended to correct the minutes.
Yes, may we
As he
request our
attended.
committee secretariat to do some addendum and of course change whatever is missing. Again, to all of us, as there are other members who would like to register for interpellation or wala na talaga interpellation, are there any matters for the joint
Madam
committee to take up?
Chairwoman, Madam Chairperson, Mark, it was a pleasure having this committee, joint committee. And I think you guys did a good job. We would like to just encourage most of you, especially the invited guests, to bear with us, because it's really a hard process and it's a lengthy process. Without other interpellators, Madam Chair and Mr. Chairman, I would like to move for the adjournment of this session.
Kong Lee?
Yeah, second the motion.
Before we adjourn, may I remind the resource speakers to comply with the required submissions of other position papers. The meeting is now adjourned. On the part
Yeah.
of agriculture,
On the part of the Committee on Agriculture and Food, this meeting is hereby adjourned.
thank you so much, everyone.